Hi, I'm Radical Coder. This is Umbreon. And real quick, before we dive in, if you want to make sure this little dude stays fed and warm, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments what I got right, what I got wrong, or what you want to argue about. Let's go.
I've seen you around before. No worries.
What's up, gang?
What's good, y'all? Hey. Oh, that's Ryan. Ryan, what's good, baby?
Yeah. What's up, Joe? Good to see you, buddy. I was curious. I think Denizen said something about free speech being speech without consequences, but I feel like that kind of implies like other people's free speech being limited by yours, like to avoid consequences.
Good
like
argument.
I gotta also make clear, guys. I gotta make clear, I am not too good with politics, so I may get some of this stuff, the details of some of the stuff wrong. So don't take my word exactly for it.
I don't think we're talking politics or anything right now. I think we're just hypothesizing that type of shit.
This isn't politics. I'm just saying, like a lot of it, when it comes, I stay away from a lot of political stuff. So some of it I may have a little bit incorrect, or it might be also outdated or something, because I just don't. A lot of it I ignore because this kind of whole censor, hate speech shit. As soon as I hear words like that, I'm like, nah, I'm not listening.
I don't know. I got some of that, and I also have the other side where I want to know what the enemy is plotting against me. But Ryan
it's like watching a train wreck. Like you can't help but not look away, but at the same time you're like half tuned out as well. You're half focused in, half tuned out. It's fucking weird.
It's two things. It's that I like watching Trump for the train wreck. But I like listening to cats like Ryan. Like, good. I get a chance to dive into you, Ryan, if Jess will allow me. I get a chance to watch cats like that who have really strange ideas, that left versus right. And then I get to learn how they think, so I can hopefully enlighten those people and win them over and get them up out of that nonsense. But I got to listen to this type of bullshit all the fucking time. Listen to dumbass arguments. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to. And yes, I'm sure I don't even know your arguments, Ryan, and I bet there's some dumbass arguments, because it's like arguing right versus left. Give me your best arguments, if we could. Or maybe you and Dennis want to go down that path of if you hurt someone by using your free speech, there could be consequences for someone else.
Of course, there's consequences. Those are inherent limits on speech.
Sorry, what I was saying was that if you're going to limit, like if you want freedom from consequences from your free speech, like for example, you don't want a platform to be able to ban you, or you don't want people to be able to criticize you, then you would have to implement something that limits their free speech and able to ensure that for you. Which
are you talking about freedom of association?
No, I'm talking about like platforms have the right to ban you if you're if you break their
freedom of association.
No, it's freedom of speech.
Okay.
I disagree with that.
Of course, disagree with platforms having.
It's not speech
because it's not speech. You're on a platform. They get to choose something.
It's literally freedom of association. You don't want to be associated with certain types of speech.
I'm having the same problem you have in AC. I'm having trouble distinguishing it from platform and in regular life. I keep picturing a motherfucker outside of a store saying stuff, but all of our examples are on a platform, and that makes me think if it's on a platform, then all the rules change on a platform.
Yeah, I guess I'm speaking to both. Like, I'm like if we're talking about in person, then somebody, if you say something like stupid in public and people call you out for it, like they should be able to do that, right? They should be able to criticize you.
Fair. Yeah.
Yes, verbal carve-outs. Yes.
Right, but
the only consequences for your speech should be more speech. So ideas and words can be a consequence, but not economic or physical harm.
Meaning,
the reason I brought up online platforms is because it's a force multiplier. Saying something to somebody on the street doesn't matter, right? Unless you have your own platform.
I understand your point. Yeah.
When you say no economic consequences, though, like, are you saying that like companies shouldn't be able to fire you if you're running around saying the N-word, whatever?
Correct.
But that you're limiting their speech and their First
That's not rights. Speech.
Okay, you're limiting.
First Amendment rights because it includes freedom of association. I'm not talking about the First Amendment. I'm talking about free speech.
Okay, but the free speech is an emergent right from the First Amendment. Like it is part of the First Amendment in America, at least.
The First Amendment includes free speech, but I'm talking about free speech. Like I'm talking about pineapples. I'm not talking about fruit, or in this case, cantaloupe, because you're talking about an entirely different fruit than the one we're discussing, which is
sounds like
freedom.
It sounds like you're talking about like an imaginary world where things don't work the way they do in the real world, and you're trying to isolate it all in a way that doesn't really make sense to anyone who's actually trying to talk about these things in any applicable way. It just doesn't make sense.
That sounds like you have a really small mind. I'm sorry.
No, let's assume it's imaginary. You can go there. You could still go there if you're taking that free speech to its extreme, and not even all the way to its extreme. You can see where these situations, what up, Rude, would come into play.
Hello, right? Rude cunt crab. How are you?
Hey, so good.
So I guess to clarify then, Denizen, you're saying that you would want to limit a company's freedom of association in order to protect the speech of their employee from being limited by like if they want to fire someone, they shouldn't be able to do that. You're saying is that right?
I'm not sure I understood what you were asking.
Like if you're saying a company shouldn't be able to fire someone because of like things they say, like outside of the job or whatever.
Some racist fuck keeps saying the hard R to every black customer that comes in. They should not be able to fire that guy. That's what you're saying.
That's not the same thing.
Oh, okay. I thought that was what you were saying.
I think he specifically means
it's
like
not what he said.
Yeah, but like so
your conduct as an employee can include your speech.
Yeah, but if I'm an employer and like I see you running around tweeting like super racist or super like misogynistic shit, and I'm like, wow, this person is like a representative of my business, and people are going to come into my business and see this person as a representative of me. Like this company, I want to fire your ass. Like I don't want you working for me.
That's interesting.
It goes deeper than that though. Like what they're voicing privately or publicly while they're not being paid is still going to affect culture at the company. You know what I mean?
Not
like
in a culture of free speech.
No, but if they're that sort of person that voices those opinions, then the conversations they're having in the workplace is going to be similar, and it's going to affect company culture.
Then their outside conduct is irrelevant.
Oh,
but if
their outside conduct is a representation. Their outside conduct is a representation of who they are as a person behind the scenes.
If you're making the claim that they can't exactly, if you're making a claim that it will inherently affect their job, then we don't need to worry about what they do outside of work. What they do in their job gives enough reason for discipline.
Well, what I'm saying is that if you have customers who are seeing this employee of yours and they know they're an employee of yours, they see them saying all these horrible things and they don't want to come into your business because of it, like then this person, your employee, is not at
that
work,
is a good point, Dan.
Yeah.
If someone puts your shit on the internet, like some of these, I can't think of their names right now, who catch races and they'll put them up on the internet, the company will fire them for that shit because people will call Yelp and start giving them bad reviews, and it will fuck up their business so bad that they have to.
I'll give you an example, Joe.
Yeah, doxing somebody like that should be illegal.
Like what's the wrestler's name? Hulk Hogan, the big guy. Fucking
yes.
He got outed for saying racial comments, and now there's backlash because WWE hired him back. So
I didn't know
should they fire him?
I didn't know.
They hired him back. He's got some kind of deal for some beer shit. Fucking.
If you didn't see it, his son was dating a black chick, and I think that's how it went. And he recorded the conversation, and dude was like, listen, you can't be dating them hardy R's. We use that word all the time.
Damn.
That type of shit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they fired him. Yeah.
So, like, I guess if we're talking about a culture, just to be clear, you're not saying that the government should prevent this company from firing him for shit that he says off company time, right? You're not saying the government should interfere in that?
No.
Okay, so even in just the cultural sense, like, why would you want a culture where a company can't or like is encouraged not to fire someone who's actively hurting their company?
I think you're just assuming things that aren't necessarily to follow.
Is this a hard line, Dennison? Like an absolute line that you have?
Is what a line? I thought we were discussing ideas.
No, that like no matter what. Look, it seems like you're on the side of no matter what, someone should not be able to be fired from a
sounded like
company
we
for
were
what they
having a
do outside.
No,
conversation.
I think that like every single instance of anything should be examined and considered on a case by case basis. I don't really like the idea of applying laws broadly and universally. I get equality, but I think that's an unnecessary conflation.
All right, let's see where
in
you're
this
on a case by
in a
case.
in a culture of free speech, people wouldn't hold speech against a company, right? It would be encouraged. You wouldn't be walking around offended by everything
Good
that we
point.
hear, and
Good
it
point.
wouldn't be something to boycott or jump on a bandwagon. We'd be
Good
different
point.
kind of people.
All right,
Okay,
Dennis
so
Yeah.
won me
I
over
think
a
I
bit.
see now.
Yeah.
You're imagining a world where the things that you say can't possibly deter someone from wanting to be around you, right?
No. I'm merely
like they're
no.
physiologically
I'm not. Hold
incapable
on.
of being resistant to you.
Hold on. Don't just keep going. I'm not imagining anything. I'm merely telling
You
you
are.
that that's what free speech is. So restrictions on that, consequences on that, are limitations on free speech. That's
No,
what I'm
you're
saying.
describing what you want free. You're describing a world, a kind of free speech that you want to see. You're not describing
No,
what free
I
speech
didn't say anything
actually
about
is,
what
to
I
be clear.
want. I'm talking
already
about
got
freedom of
I'm telling
limitations
you
on
speech.
that that's what you're describing.
Speech without consequences. When there's consequences, negative consequences for your speech.
There's
Those are
already
inherent
consequences.
restrictions. Those
You've got
are inherent
slander laws and
restrictions on.
defamation laws and stuff.
Yeah, we definitely don't have free speech in the United States. It's not even close. It's politically determined in the United States.
Clearly.
Anyway, the reason for my question is because I can think of like several reasons that someone should definitely be fired for what they do outside the workplace. So it was just. Yeah.
I'm not even saying they should be fired for anything. I'm merely defining that as a restriction on speech. That's it.
Yeah.
Hello, Anson. How are you?
I'm doing great. This specific conversation interested me because there were two different forms of freedoms that were competing with one another at the same time, and one of them wasn't
such
given
cases.
its due diligence. Firing someone is an expression of freedom of association, and freedom of speech. You know, that's also the freedom that was being expressed there, right? So, you know, you should be able to hire or fire anybody without government interference, just like you should be able to say whatever the hell you want to say without government interference. And both of them can occur at the same time. They're not one or the other.
I like it.
But yeah, freedom of speech is more that your government can't.
Yeah, well,
stop
freedom
it.
of association.
There's still going to be
too.
civil repercussions.
Yeah, well, that's you can't stop people from interacting with one another. I mean, that's what's wrong with civil repercussions, right? If someone doesn't want to be around you, they should not be around you, right? The government shouldn't force people together or force people apart, right? People should be able to separate themselves as they wish.
Well, I mean, I think that we had to have some form of force be used to do like to integrate schools. For example, like after Brown v. Board of Education, we had to have the National Guard come in and prevent white people from attacking black children. So
I agree that government schools were creating a system of segregation because government is, you know, inherently authoritarian, and that was the main problem, right? Like
that wasn't the main problem. No, let's cut that shit out. It wasn't because the government wasn't allowing black people in the white school.
Wasn't that a government bus Rosa Parks had to sit on the back of?
Well, let's go to the
who
schools.
chooses the
I
government?
think that was his example, was the schools.
Yeah, the government.
And you said that was the government keeping those kids out of the schools?
Yep.
You know, the government had to come. The National Guard had to come to make sure that schools obeyed the government order.
Yeah, a different layer of government. Yeah.
Okay, you know, it was the people who didn't want them in there, right?
Yeah, because because in a democratic system, you have the rule of the majority, and it is creating tyranny for the minority.
Right.
That's why democracy is flawed.
I agree, but I wasn't debating whether it was because of a democratic system. These are the results of it.
Yeah.
The main thing was those people did not want to integrate. I thought you were saying, well, really, it wasn't the people; it was the government.
Well, yeah, but most of the people. So if it's a non-government system, why should we force them to integrate? Force people to associate with people they don't want to associate with?
I don't know that we should be forcing motherfuckers to associate.
Yeah, I don't either.
So you're not for the National Guard forcing integration.
So what they were forcing
No,
them
he said
from
non-government, like
they were
outside of
attacking those
schools.
children. They wanted to hurt those children. for
Yeah, the
going into that
government was
school.
doing really horrible things. I agree. The government
No,
shouldn't
the
do
government was protecting those children.
that. And it was also hurting them, depending on which government you're talking about.
They
The government
weren't
was protecting
forcing
them
the.
from the white people who wanted to attack them for going into the schools.
Right, because they were using the tyranny of the majority in their democratic system to oppress people, which was wrong.
So who was being hurt besides the kids trying to go to school? You say other kids were being hurt too?
If they were looking out for the minority, how is that tyranny of the majority?
It's specifically where I'm from in Alabama. It was the majority white population was using the government force to put upon the minority. Right, that's usually how governments work in democracies.
Yes, those people we're talking about separate, segregate, and then they make laws to exclude other
Yeah.
races. It's not
But
like
if people want to freely do that outside of using government force, I don't see a problem with that because that's free association, right? If I want to live in a neighborhood that's got the kind of people that I like to live with in it, then I want to live there, and the government shouldn't say, that I have to sell my house to specific people because it's my damn house.
I think you're right. You should be able to do all of those things. And I think I got the right to come over to your business because you only sell buildings to white folks and set up shop outside on the sidewalk and say he's a racist piece of shit. And
there you go.
What
That's it. You got it, Joe. Me and you are on the same page, bro.
All right.
I'm okay with anti-discrimination laws personally.
Yeah, that's okay. You like using government force against people. That makes sense.
So do you, just for different reasons.
Do I really?
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Tell me what I like to do.
So if I invaded your house, would you? But if you didn't have a gun or something, and like you needed to call the police,
that was a bad example. Bad example.
Yeah, it was a bad example. That's probably like not the best example.
Yeah.
But okay, what kind? If I whatever, like, would you just never call the police in any situation? I guess.
Do it? No, I don't think that. I don't think the government should have a monopoly on police force. You're right. That's an excellent point. We should not have a government-run police force. Thank you for bringing that up.
So, drunk driver, what happened?
Any police force large enough to be effective is already going to inherently be a government.
Yeah, you want, like, private police forces.
Yeah, why not? The entire government should
like
private.
Back to the Wild Wild West.
Because the point of government is to make sure that everyone has access to those things. So if we have a bunch of private police forces and they all like decide not to protect black people or something, then what do we do then? We just let them.
That's a really small perspective based solely on the system that you were born in.
It's a pretty like reasonable perspective considering like the history of this country.
It's been there for real. That was a good example, I thought.
Well, no, like you're looking at things from the perspective of the post-Enlightenment, which was a smaller portion of history, right? Like the better system is a private government system, like a monarchy.
You just disagree with government force?
No, I disagree with democracy.
So you disagree with every action ever taken by the American military because that's government force?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think we should dismantle the U.S. military?
What's that?
Do you think that we should dismantle the U.S. military?
No, I think that any system that's democratic is inherently immoral.
That's not what I asked.
It's a different worldview than what you're asking questions from, right? You're asking me questions that are unrelated to my worldview.
Can you try to bridge the gap for me?
Yeah, I don't think that democracy is moral, and so the system that we have used for the past more than 200 years in the United States has done a lot of harm to a lot of people, and we should go back.
How do we get from how do we apply your worldview when it comes to the U.S. military? How do we convert the U.S. military into the kind of system that you would prefer? We would have to dismantle it. Yes.
No, I mean the kings usually have an army. But it's not a standing army historically in Western civilization because it's been long understood that a standing army is one of the greatest dangers to a free people.
Oh, it is, dude.
Anson, so what is it that's so fascinating to you about a monarchy? Why is it so much better?
It's privately owned. You can pass title down, and it's not owned the democracies aren't owned by anyone, so they suffer from the tragedy of the commons. where people don't actually care for anything other than the little bit that they can pilfer from the system temporarily because they're only caretakers.
As opposed to the monarchy, who all the rich get the good shit and the poor people get shit.
No, you're describing the democracy we have, Joe. Have you not seen it?
I thought I was describing both. I'm definitely describing the democracy we have. You're right. Democracy is doomed to fail. Go ahead, Jay.
The powder Dustin has a question for you.
I was just going to ask that.
He prefers the minority.
So the democracy is inherently immoral because it relies on the fallacious notion that 51% has the right to tell 49% what to do.
We know
right?
that's inherently flawed. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's also not how our democracy works, right?
Actually, it pretty much is. If you're talking about like the electoral college, yeah, if you're talking about the electoral college, right? That being an example of how we don't live in a democracy and a representative republic.
I'm talking about how we're a representative democracy that has a constitutional rights-based system.
Well, the Constitution's a joke, right? I mean, that's some piece of paper signed by some people, what, 200-something years ago that doesn't mean anything anymore.
It actually means a lot, and it's actually used in. I mean, we have a million different legal systems that are established around it, and it's very meaningful and very powerful. I think that Trump is the one who's kind of shredding it right now, and maybe that's why.
Wait. Hey, Ryan, don't you want to take my guns, Ryan?
Fuck no, dude. Definitely not.
I was just assuming. Do you want to limit my magazines?
I don't personally. No, I don't think so.
Should I be able to have a fully automatic machine gun?
Joe, to be 100% clear, Joe, I want you and people who think like you more to be plenty armed, because I think that you would be standing next to me and if shit hits the fan. So
yeah, I'll be saying the same shit. I want KKK members and skinheads and motorcycle riders with me. I'll be thinking the same way.
So, Chairman, real quick, so you have a problem with the 51% being able to tell the rest of the people what's good, but you're okay with one family telling everyone?
Right. This is where we going, right?
Yeah. So
does that make fucking sense?
Yeah. So if you look at it historically, it kind of makes sense. So, if you have one,
can you name a monarchy that's more prosperous than America?
Well, no, it's not. So prosperity isn't a sign of morality. Right.
How do you measure?
Here's a better measure. Were the common folk okay with it? Because all of the ones I can think of, except for the Britain, the king usually ended up bad, or the czar, or whoever was in charge. The gap got too big, just like it does in a democracy, and the people rebelled.
Yeah, and it's somewhat this. Oh, look, it's Flo. How you doing, Flo?
It's awesome.
Hello, Flo.
Oh, he's
hello.
So disappointed.
Somebody's got an echo.
Who's got the echo?
It was probably Flo.
Am I lower?
You are kind of low.
How's that?
Slightly better.
Slightly better, yeah.
What's going on, Dust Bunny?
So I'm trying to figure out what makes
monarchy
moral.
Right. So, it's more.
A lot of stuttering.
Yeah, it's more justified than democracy, and my position is that the king has title and ownership and actually owns the government, and therefore will make better decisions because he has an incentive to pass it on to another generation because he actually has skin in the game. Whereas none of the people who run our government now actually have any ownership and responsibility and duty to make the government better because they're just caretakers. They're temporary
pragmatic. Right, I can see the pragmatism
the
there, but if your objection to democracy and what makes it immoral is that 49 or 51% control 49, then one controlling everybody has to be that much more immoral.
I know.
Right, the 51% have some ownership.
Yeah, they have inheritance to leave to their children too.
No, the 51% don't have any ownership, right? But under the king, he actually does have title to it, right? No, you don't have title to the American government. You can't actually say that you have pride in your government, right? Because you don't own it. You can only have pride in something that you've actually invested in and spent time toiling in. Only a king can have pride in his nation.
Yes, of course, citizens can't do any of those things.
Right. I'm
No, they
thinking,
can't
what
because
about
you
the
don't own your
peasants?
government.
It's
You're
just,
you're a son,
it's,
you're more
Have you
put upon
seen
than it.
veterans? Have you seen veterans during the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah, I have it actually. When I say this stuff to veterans, it really triggers them.
Yeah, I wonder
I
why.
mean, but doesn't that
Yeah.
prove you wrong? Like just the fact that they get so proud, right? Like it's demonstrably false what you just claimed.
No, but what my point is that pride is actually degenerate, except for people who have actually owned something, right? So because you can't actually own the government, just because you've been a loyal
So
what is
you
that?
don't believe in patriotism then?
No, no, I think that the American version of patriotism is disgusting. Yeah.
What do the peasants own in a monarchy?
Well, I guess it depends on how the king sets it up.
Well, yeah, you're saying they have title and ownership and all of
Yeah,
that
and
shit. I'm assuming whatever they have could be given away at the whim of a king.
right.
They
So
don't own
it would.
shit either then.
Yeah, well, no, it would, and so that's why I said historically. Like, if you look at it, the power of a king is much more limited than what we've been told in our education system. It's not the kind of absolute power that we've been trained to think that it is in every situation. There were a large number.
Wouldn't that
of
be up
kings.
to the king?
No, it wouldn't, because
Yeah.
he's one man and he's limited, right? He's
No,
limited
he's not. He
because
owns
he's only
everything.
Sure, I
one.
mean, I'll grant you that there will be some checks on power, right? But even if that is the
Less than there are
case,
now.
I still like the philosophy underlying why democracy is immoral really fucks up monarchy.
right.
No, because nobody owns it, right? So that's the whole point. And the pride is actually extremely important to the argument, because it's a conceit, it's a self lie that all the people in a democratic system have, that makes them have feelings of
Ownership.
But isn't
Ownership and responsibility,
Yeah, there is no
accountability,
ownership. There is no
contribution,
ownership.
cooperation, community, charity.
isn't the moral flaw in democracy the fact that the 49% are subjected to the 51?
Yeah,
he'd agree with that.
that's a fallacy. But yeah, the moral flaw is more related to the pride.
Okay, so real quick, Chairman, if ownership is what makes society more moral, how does that society become more moral through having no ownership because they live in a monarchy?
No, the monarchy is the only system with ownership. The democracy is the system without the ownership.
So you want the leader to have all the morality, but the society to have none?
No, the government has to have some sort of ownership in order for it to have any chance of being moral, right? So the system that we have is one where.
Do you know people? Do you know human beings, bro? Do you
Yeah,
know what
there
people
are
buy
monarchies you can go move to.
fucking
You don't have to be in America. Like you can
properties
leave.
and leave them run down and
Yeah, I've met the people at Walmart who balance out my vote. That's why I'm definitely anti-democratic.
I have a trailer that's been on 2 flat tires since I bought it.
You and
Chairman,
three
why
more
do you live in
people I
America?
know.
I
Why
have
don't
to
you go live in
presume that the
monarchy?
divine right of kings has something to do with this. Otherwise, it's so silly, it's not even worth mocking.
I really want to know why Chairman lives here in America. Why don't you go? There are plenty of monarchies around the world you could move to. Like, why don't?
There are?
Well, there are actually a few, and they're very successful. Trump went over and tried to get some of their money not too long ago.
Yeah, why don't you go live over in
Qatar?
one of those places?
Of the Saudis?
Yeah, they're a monarchy.
Yeah, hit it up, bro.
Yeah,
the
I'm not.
That's
I'm
dope.
not
They're doing
Muslim.
great.
I'd much rather prefer to live in a Christian monarchy, because in that kind of a system, they would have more value for human dignity.
There any Christian monarchies left?
No, there's not. They've all been destroyed by the Enlightenment.
A hedonistic secular government democracy has more value for human dignity than an Islamic monarch?
What
That
about
seems
the- like the
antithetical to your whole
UK?
philosophy.
Not
Denmark?
really, because just because
Norway?
I think that monarchy has more potential than democracy doesn't mean that I think that all monarchies are terrific things.
The only
Where's
way
the-
a society could even potentially be moral is if it's run by a king.
Exactly.
Societies
See, you're
can't be
getting it.
moral. Morality is an individual function.
Very good. Wow.
Right. And so this is another reason why democracy doesn't work, right? Because a whole bunch of individuals can't make a moral system. Like that can only be one individual that can do that.
No,
I feel like they can't align with your particular version of morality.
What you're
That's the whole
suggesting
point.
is that there's such thing as a moral country or a moral government underneath the king. All I'm saying is that there is no such thing. Morality is only applicable to an individual.
Right, right. And so
that does not
lots of
give
individuals can't make a moral system.
That does not give a monarchy morality. It
It
means
is
the
if that-
king the king can be moral or immoral regardless of whether he's a king or a clerk, right? It's just the individual.
And it won't make the rest of society if the king is outright Jesus himself. It doesn't make the rest of the thieves in society.
And they have inherently less ownership too than under a democratic system. So they're going to be inclined to be even less moral, according to your philosophy.
It was same anyway.
Yeah.
Chairman, do you think Trump should be king?
He is a king.
I'd like to try it out just for the laws.
I don't know. I don't think that.
Yes, is that answer. I'm reading between.
I have never experienced a stream in where Ryan did not find a way to force wedge Trump into the conversation.
Goddamn right, he's wrecking my country, dude.
He's not doing that much.
Bro, your country was rotted away before you.
What did he do today?
Yeah, I wanted to get on him and his political views. I was just waiting for an opening. The conversation hadn't went there.
You got to be like Ryan, just shoehorn that motherfucker in there.
We should be talking about him every single day and talking about impeaching him and getting him out of office as soon as possible because he's destroying the country.
Do you ever wonder if your take on Joe, if your political perspective is unbalanced?
Yeah, that's why I constantly go on panels and stuff where people challenge my ideas, and usually I come out feeling stronger about the fact that Donald Trump is actually actively destroying our democracy.
That's proof of midbrain if I've ever heard it.
Could you argue? Is there an argument that the left is just as destructive?
Not in this way. I don't think so.
Absolutely, both sides are destructive. Any sort of fanaticism, the magtards and the Trump derangement syndrome crew. They're all that's two wings of the same bird.
Clearly.
Well, I mean, you're describing people who will defend anything Trump does and people who are critical.
Hello, Trevor. Thanks for the sub. Sorry, guys. Continue.
Who will attack anything Trump does?
You're
literally
yes.
just like anti-feminists are actually feminist in their worldview. You're MAGA in yours.
If you say so. I mean, I don't say it that way.
You're just as rabid, right? Democrats, anything Trump does, CSNBC, CNN, you and all Democrats are going to call it a piece of shit. I don't care if he does the most wonderful shit in the world. You guys are rabid animals and you feel like you got to jump him.
I thought the stuff he did with the C-19 stuff was good. Operation Warp Speed, I think that was cool. The first step back, I think that was cool. These are good things Trump did. So obviously, I'm capable of saying when Trump does good stuff.
All right. What about the left? The left wants to take my guns. Yeah.
Some people do. I don't. Yeah.
Generally speaking, the left, nigga, you ain't finna dodge this. When the left wants to take guns.
Yeah. Trump is the only. First of all, Trump's the only one who actually passed any gun legislation.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask you anything about Trump. The left. Why is this so difficult?
They don't seem to be doing it.
I didn't ask you.
They don't seem to be doing that.
Could you answer my question and then go on with your comments and shit?
They want more gun control, seemingly.
Thank you. The left. Thank you. I mean, that was like really hard. Are they going to give me that free speech that Dan is talking about? Do I get to fucking walk down the street and say fuck you, and they're going to give me my fuck you to the mayor? They're going to give me my free speech?
Yeah, I think so.
More so the Dems are? I didn't ask you more so than Trump. It's my argument that these niggas, they ain't got nothing to offer like Trump, and any other Republican has nothing to offer. No significant change. Are they going to end taxes? The left? Are they going to give me my
end taxes? I mean, I don't think we should end taxes.
So the left is not going to do that shit. I'm not sure what
we're not going to end taxes. No.
What big thing is the left going to do that the right's not?
Ban guns.
Increase access to healthcare, better wages, stronger unions.
Wait, better healthcare? Is that what they do the last time?
More access to healthcare, yeah. I mean, the ACA was better than what was there before it.
Yeah,
all it did was create a tax penalty for a lot of people.
Well, that's been gone for a while. So ACA still does a lot of other stuff, right? Like making sure that people can get insurance without being barred by their pre-existing conditions, or switch jobs without being stuck to a health insurance provider.
Why can't we write bills where we just do those things then?
Well, why don't you elect politicians who are trying to do that instead of politicians who are trying to repeal all those things?
I mean, my answer is that this country is run politically. The Constitution is bullshit, and at every level, the system is rigged. And I know that because I've been, and I know that, and I know that because we have, and I know that, and I know that because I've actually participated in it.
Okay, cool. I vote too.
How stupid do we have to be
I've run for office
for the solution?
Say again.
How stupid do we have to be to keep going back to the source of the problem for the solution?
Agreed.
That just it seems like a naive way to look at governance. Like there are people who have different goals.
Here comes the projection round.
Who are achieving different things, like with
when
they get elected. So just look at who you're voting for. If you don't like the things that the politicians that you're voting for are doing, then vote for different fucking politicians.
They're all criminals. They're all fucking criminals. Don't matter what side you're fucking
exactly.
voting
It's like
for.
a first grader analysis.
Criminals.
I mean,
no, this is an adult's analysis.
A really stupid, basic analysis that doesn't.
It's someone who's aware of reality.
First grade, what you were taught in civics class,
right?
Yeah, the things you guys all forgot, so that you could go.
No, we remember them just fine and reject them.
Yeah, we've learned that the world doesn't work that way, and that it's a bullshit story for children. You're the child here.
It does work that way. That's why Republicans keep winning, because their fucking constituents keep voting for them.
I'm not gonna say they keep winning. We had Bill Clinton, we had Obama for 8 years. It's a back and forth.
Every presidency
switches, and significantly since I've been alive.
It's literally the last president was a Democrat.
Yeah, because people voted for him.
Right.
Okay, so obviously that's a way that we can elect people. President.
Yeah, but he was a criminal and a crook, and I wouldn't vote for him.
Yeah, Donald Trump was a criminal and a crook. I agree.
So was Biden.
I mean, well, one of them was convicted, but
but
come on,
you don't think criminals are never convicted?
George Bush was a war criminal. So was Obama.
So you're saying that the judicial system treated Trump fairly, and it wasn't a political prosecution?
I think Trump was not treated fairly because he wasn't actually jailed like he should be. He should be in fucking prison.
Wow.
Well, you own it, Ryan. That's good stuff.
I mean,
he's a Democrat.
He's a fucking crook.
Ryan,
he's further convinced he's correct, by the way.
They're all crooks. What makes Donald Trump a unique crook?
All politicians are crooks. Yeah.
He's a little bit more upfront about it.
Tell me when Joe Biden or Bill Clinton or George W. Bush even defied a Supreme Court ruling.
Well, you're getting pretty precise. I could tell you that fucking Biden,
it's a pretty big deal.
He pardoned his shitty son, right? Didn't he pardon his son?
Why would you be a supporter?
Why did he do that though? Why did he pardon his son?
Because he's
a literal puppet. Why would you be a supporter of Biden?
I got to hear this.
Maybe because he knew that Trump was going to put in a guy who wrote a children's book rewriting January 6th as the head of the FBI.
There's a justification.
You think that guy knows anything going on?
I don't know.
Because this guy, the guy who wrote that children's book, also has an enemies list of Bidens that people he wanted to go after for what?
I don't know. He needs to hurry up and get on it, though. He's kind of slow.
Calm down.
Well, he's not going to do it because he doesn't actually have any crimes, right? He doesn't. If they actually had crimes, they would have. If he had crimes on Hillary Clinton, then she would have been in jail a long time ago.
Oh,
bullshit.
Politicians on that level don't go to jail.
Oh, bullshit. Yeah, Trump wasn't powerful enough to put Hillary Clinton in jail his first term.
Yeah, that's a shame.
You think he wasn't? You think he really actually tried? They were friends before he became a politician.
I'm saying he didn't try. I'm saying he didn't try because he couldn't, because he didn't have any sort of legal channels to go through to do it.
So why isn't he doing it now?
Because he still doesn't have the legal channels to do it. He doesn't have the legal power to do it.
That shit don't stop him, right?
So you think it's more likely that he's just too weak? He's powerful enough to destroy your whole country and ruin everything and be responsible for all the ills in the world, but he's not powerful enough to lock up Hillary Clinton. But he can't
even get Clinton indicted, Flo. He can't even get her indicted.
What you guys don't understand is it's not an all or nothing thing, right?
Yeah, Justin got a point.
It's what we don't understand.
As Trump starts to erode democratic norms, like defying the Supreme Court, it becomes increasingly possible for him to do worse things, right? Like, and they can be challenged less by courts.
None of us are arguing that Trump is good. If you're going to tell us shit on him, I bet we can do better than you can at it. If you're shitting on Trump, that's not a
well, you should be. You should be doing it better then.
Because it wouldn't be as fake crimes.
My issue is that you love all the rest of the system,
that's
and only
more
dislike
interesting
Trump.
right now. You have to ignore all the sins of the left and concentrate on how shitty the right is. How
including torture.
They're in power right now. I don't care about them when they're not in power as much, right?
There we go.
When
there we finally
when
crossed
they're
that.
actively doing things, I'm concerned about those things that are
That
actively being done.
Post shifting. We finally reached this part of the conversation, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you criticize the left?
I'm sorry. I care about things that are happening in the world.
Good.
Yeah, amazing. You fucking got me.
Nah, your argument was that Trump's worse than anything we've ever seen before. Not that he's the only one in power right now. Yes. So therefore,
he is worse and he's in power. Those are both true. It's not a contradiction.
It's not.
It is.
It's not.
It is. You're and you do care about what's happened in the past. You're literally using it to make your argument. You're also wrong because Obama and George. That wasn't my claim. So you're refuting nothing. You're also wrong because torture is worse than anything Donald Trump has done.
Like it contradicted something, but it didn't.
I don't know if you heard that. I don't know if you're responding to it or not. But torture is worse than anything Donald Trump has done.
You think Donald Trump isn't going to bring back torture if he can?
He hasn't tortured yet. But George W. Bush has. George W. Bush has, and so has Obama.
Donald Trump has done torture, like the people he's deported to CCOT, absolutely were tortured.
So deportation is torture now?
Deportation to like one of the prison that's notorious for human rights abuses with no due process? Yeah, actually.
I don't know if we compare that to outright torture and waterboarding and the shit we saw.
Yeah.
I forgot. And
then directly by the CIA, by our people, not some El Salvadorian prison.
And at Gitmo, the pictures that came out of there was straight up torture.
Open that and like send people there?
Sorry, what?
No, I was
Trump trying to send people to Gitmo.
So he's at least as bad as George W. Bush,
or Trump, or Obama.
The Patriot Act. I mean, the war in Iraq. I mean, like George Bush is massively worse, and I don't like Trump. I don't like any of them. But
Trump is going further on all of those things
Trump's
that you don't like about Bush.
Okay, what war has Trump started? What? Go ahead. I'll wait for that. Okay.
Or he's trying to concede ground to Russia.
Wow.
Out of the America?
Obama was pretty good with the drone strikes.
Like Matrix style move dodges.
He's invading Greenland. He's warmongered with Canada. If he yields,
so none. The answer is zero. His answer is zero.
Actually, if he yields Ukraine to Russia, then next Putin will absolutely attack a NATO country and put us at war.
How is this Trump's fault? What are you talking about?
The first thing you should have said, Ryan, so I know that you're not, crazy leftist. The first thing you would have said was he hasn't started any war. But the fact that you found it so hard to say that Trump hasn't started a war, it's interesting.
Okay,
it's
I don't care.
Funny.
We gotta not condemn him for the future things that he hasn't done, right?
Well, I'm talking about the consequences of the actions he's taking right now, though.
I'm gonna literally use it in an argument to prove he's worse than Hitler.
Yeah. In the future, when Trump kills everybody and destroys the planet.
Hey guys, just watch TOS too. You guys are dancing on the lines there.
All right.
We like to dance.
Please.
Flo's a really good dancer.
It's true.
Yeah.
But my dances are all pretty sexual.
Well, Ryan, what's the dream candidate for 2028 from the left for you?
Microphone 2028.
Your mic is like, are you underwater?
Yeah, I think you roboted a bit there.
So who's the dream candidate for 2028 for you?
I don't know yet.
At least you didn't say Kamala.
What are you going to do when Trump's not in office anymore?
No, right?
I'm probably going to have a better president.
Aren't you going to be like lonely and bored?
He's just going to be happy. The
I would
country
prefer
will
Trump
resolve
not
its
be in
He's
office.
gone
issues.
too
And
progressive.
Do you think that like that's the only thing I ever talk? I mean, I bring up Trump a lot, but like I talk about other politics. You know,
You only
generally.
ever
Yeah,
discuss
you
the seventh
missed your
word.
Bring
strongest
everything back
argument. The
to
way
Trump. From
the
the
way
short
Trump
time I've
is
been here, everything
disassembling
is Trump's fault.
the way Trump is disassembling the court system, that would have been your strongest argument. And you don't have to talk about
Raging
future
tomato.
shit. You could have talked about what he's doing now.
he's disassembling
Hello,
the court
Sarah.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
defying Supreme
Sarah.
Court rulings, arresting judges, calling any judge who rules against him an activist judge. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, he's allowed to make glib statements like that. That's not the end of the world.
I'm not saying he's not allowed to do it. I'm saying he's doing it.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, that's not dismembering.
So the other things that you mentioned
disassembling
are actually a big fucking deal.
the court
When you
system.
mixed in calling that little comment to him, it makes everything else that you said sound like trash, even though it's not
Well,
trash.
if you're stupid, yeah, maybe, but like
Yeah,
you
dude,
can also
say some
grade the
good
different
points, and
things.
then you ruin
You
it
can
by,
understand
like,
that they have
oh,
different levels
Trump.
of severity.
Now
I
you
didn't-
had to go,
yeah.
guy who was trying to talk because we couldn't hear you.
Are you talking about me?
I don't know.
No.
Somebody was talking. We couldn't hear you.
Oh, all right. So why don't you talk about anybody on the left is doing positive? Why is it all anti-Trump? Say
I
something.
like
Say
Trump and
anything.
I'm sorry, I like Bernie and AOC's anti-oligarch tour. I think that's based.
I like it.
Oh, God.
AOC is
Bernie's
kind of
embarrassed
hot,
himself so
like
much lately. What are
relatively.
you talking
She is
Yeah,
that too. But
relatively.
I also support the global or the international protests that we've been inspiring. Like
I've
the
been
hands-off
out.
stuff has been awesome. I encourage people to go out and protest this.
I
convert
went
it.
out to a couple of them with
You
them.
could
So.
convert AOC. If you got enough money, she would switch sides immediately.
She would.
I
that
like
comment.
crazy
I
because
mean,
I
you
like
don't, you don't
Trump
think that she's
because
been offered
he's
money to like
crazy.
change her positions?
Bernie and AOC seem like they're going to be
I
exciting.
think everything she's done is because she was offered money.
AOC has an economics degree. She knows full damn well that her economic propositions don't work, and she's okay with it. I bet she would switch sides for
Like
for
what,
money.
for example?
For
So,
real.
like, she's a socialist, right?
I would
Socialism.
assume.
Sort. I mean, does she even call
In
herself
short.
that anymore?
Nobody.
No, it don't matter what
Did she used
calls
to?
herself.
What So what I asked was what policies you're saying she
Redistributive
strives for.
policies. I think that I heard
For
her
welfare.
propose giving away cash to people. None of her shit works. It's all redistributive. It all undermines the incentives of the producing class.
I'm not
We're already
familiar
doing
with
that,
the
though, with
policy.
taxes.
Policies are actually quite effective. I think redistributive policies are actually quite effective historically. I mean,
Do
we had
you?
like a 90% corporate tax rate in like the,
Do you,
what, the 60s,
do you
70s,
know?
right?
Do you see how much inflation we're having right now? You know that's because redistributive policies
Yeah,
force
why
us
do you
to
think
borrow
that?
more, and so we're now.
Inflation's a global phenomenon.
It is a global phenomenon. We outsource most of
Global.
ours, so we don't even feel most of our inflation that we cause.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
under the
can we
Biden administration, we
just-
slowed the inflation rate down to like the lowest of any comparable nation.
It was
I
the
wanna
lowest
brag
inflation
on
The
in
biggest decrease coming off of the lockdowns. Yes, it was the biggest decrease
The
in money
lockdowns that happened under
printing,
Trump.
which did happen under Trump. Yes, he was an economic disaster.
and we're maintained under
And
Biden.
he is
Next
again
standard.
this time, and so was Joe Biden, and so was Obama.
Yeah, but I don't think Joe Biden was an economic disaster. Is what I'm
Joe
saying.
Biden was an economic
the
disaster.
numbers
Oh,
would
that was
disagree with
bullshit.
you.
The fact that he
What
didn't
numbers?
the fact that he didn't turn off the global economy for 2 years and print his way out of it like Trump did. The fact that Trump was just a catastrophe doesn't mean Biden wasn't still a disaster.
What
Well-
did Biden do that was disastrous?
He's printed more money. Him, Obama, and Trump printed more money than most of the previous presidents combined.
So because they printed money specifically is what you're saying made them
Yeah.
disastrous. No, what
Yeah.
other policies?
Well, the fact that it's a global phenomenon has anything to do with why is it happening?
Inflation
Presidents
is a
also
necessity.
don't print money.
Inflation needs to happen. Deflation's far worse.
True.
You need to inflate your currency at minimum the amount to keep up with your population growth. If you
Yeah, I
have a
don't believe it.
deflationary economy, people aren't willing. They're less likely to spend and keep your economy going.
Yeah, I think that's just a leftist way to say, we want to spend
It's
more
not
money
a
that we have.
leftist thing.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
They'll
is.
leftist.
spend more money
But
than
the
we
question-
have.
Trump
the
is
question
literally
to
raising
Flo
the debt
was-
ceiling right now with this big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
The question to Flo was: does the fact that it's the global phenomenon has anything to do with the cause behind inflation?
Does the fact that inflation is a global phenomenon?
Yeah, has anything to do with the cost of it?
Of what? Of inflation?
Of
I mean,
inflation.
inflation is a global phenomenon, and when I say we export all of it, what I mean is that we print our way out of things or into things, right? We print up money
Right.
to fund our programs.
The cost of the inflation will be the printing, not that it's a global phenomenon, right?
Well, the fact that it's a global phenomenon actually makes us in the U.S. our prices less noticeable. We notice inflation less than the rest of the world because when we print money, because the dollar is the central reserve currency, every other country needs our currency. We don't need their currencies, so we're able to actually push out a lot of our own inflation that we cause.
But what I mean is the fact that it's a global phenomenon has nothing to do with the cost of the inflation, right?
I'm not sure I understand what you
I'm not sure either, but I mean the fact that it's every currency can be inflated, right?
Yeah,
so
correct. But you're saying that we are
global
causing inflation, and most of the countries need our currency, and they're getting more inflation than us. But the cost of the inflation would be we're printing money, right?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Numbers on a computer. It's literally numbers on a computer.
What is the cost?
Okay,
the consequence of
inflation.
The cost of inflation is not the cost of printing. The cost of the inflation is the fact that if there's $10 in the economy, and then I print $12 or $10 more, that doesn't mean that there's twice as much shit to buy. It just means each dollar buys half as much shit as it did before.
Yeah.
So the cost
lower purchasing power.
The cost would be that we're printing more money, right?
It would be the reduction in the value of the existing dollars, the pre-existing dollars.
Yeah. That we're increasing the amount of dollars that are in the market, and we're not actually increasing. So I just wonder, why do
productivity
they go ahead when we're talking about the causes for inflation? They always say that it's a global phenomenon. It's like completely non sequitur.
Flo explained that very well. If we couldn't export our shit over there like we do, then it'd be a different circumstance.
When they say it's a global phenomenon, what they're trying to say is like, oh, it happens everywhere and we don't really know why. We do actually exactly know why, because inflation has exactly one source, and that is an increase in the money supply from printing more of it. That's all that attributes.
I think another external thing I would point to as something that caused inflation was Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
No, that's supply chain disruptions.
Yes, and it drove
that still counts as inflation.
Costs.
No, it would count. It would count in volatility in certain materials or supplies. It's not permanent inflation. It's not a permanent reduction in the value of the dollar. It's a situational volatility.
Okay, but it's
an overall general upward price movement of goods and services in an economy.
So how did Ukraine cause inflation?
Ukraine didn't. Russia did by invading them and disrupting the supply chains, including.
There you go. It's a supply chain disruption. It's specific market volatility.
Inflation.
It has nothing to do with permanent inflation. It doesn't. You're just wrong.
The word "permanent" there. You're saying like if Russia stopped invading, then it might change. Is that your point?
What I'm saying is that the costs of different things waxes and wanes. Right. The price of wheat goes up and down. Right. There's commodity markets. They move around. Inflation is when I print more money into existence, it permanently reduces the value of each existing unit. That is what inflation is. It only comes from printing money. It's not market volatility. That's something else.
Similar symptoms, different disease, Ryan.
I don't know if I agree with that analysis, but I'm not.
I'm Googling it now. It would be so great for me if it's
Dusty's spot on. You're just recognizing that the cost of something has gone up, but the cause of it are two different things.
Yeah, we're talking about the cost, and
I'm not so sure.
I wanted to be able to like set it in stone, because every time I hear people talking about the cost, what is causing inflation, they always say, well, it's a global phenomenon. But that has nothing to do with what is actually causing the inflation.
The reason I brought up the global phenomenon thing is because people were just saying it's just the United States doing bad policy.
No,
right?
Nobody said that. It's
Okay, well, that's what I was countering. I'm sorry if nobody said that. That's the implication I heard, and so that's what I was responding to. I'm sorry, Emmett, if I hurt your feelings today. I apologize.
It's a global thing. It has nothing to do. It's a complete non sequitur.
It does mean that it wasn't just bad U.S. policy.
Inflation is inevitable. Every nation will inflate. It's like impossible to not have this happen.
Well, yeah, usually there's like a 2% inflation that I don't really agree with. That people have said that it's part of the system, but
so Ghost says inflation is just another word for taxing.
We're talking about.
I gotta say, Google says that under the list of things that cause inflations, they specifically put supply disruptions.
That's crazy.
Man,
yeah,
don't grab
is it the AI
don't
response?
grab arguments from Google.
Why would you trust Google over Dusty?
Yeah.
No,
just throwing it out
you can
there,
find
man.
anything that you want, and if it's the AI response, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you for a fact, this is the only cause of inflation. Inflation is a very specific type of increase. The fact that there's people like Ryan who want to muddy the waters on it is no surprise. You will find
and whoever
lots of
wrote whatever
inflation.
thing that Google was being sourced by.
You can actually go ahead and check.
They're people like me, apparently. Thanks,
you can actually the Argentinian problem they had with inflation and how they
Yeah.
it last year.
Yeah,
If you
inflation is good. It has utility, but too much of anything is bad.
Inflation is not good. It's
It
never
is.
Inflation is bad in general.
Inflation is
It's
essential.
It's
No matter what,
essential
inflation will
in our
happen.
it's essential in our central reserve system with our central bank system. I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
It helps
In our
economic
system that we
activity and
have
stuff
right
like
now,
that.
that makes
People
sense.
are more likely to spend.
If we
it's
had
deflationary, people are less likely to spend.
If we had a monetary system that was not a massive Ponzi scheme, then I would say yes, inflation is bad. However, we do have a massive Ponzi scheme, so it's essential.
That doesn't mean that the idea of inflation. It doesn't follow that inflation is a good thing. It's like, well, we're in this scam together, so it's better we just scam everybody. Well,
Yeah,
it's a scam.
that's what
It's
the
not a good
Ponzi
thing.
scheme
We should
said
probably,
that-
if we're gonna go ahead and talk about the monetary system, we should probably change.
No, but it's great. It's great for the economy.
Oh yeah,
It's doomed to fail though.
yeah. You get more materialistic stuff, right?
The issue
Dusty,
with
do you think that
For
all
real.
economists who say that like supply chain
no,
issues?
I don't even know what you're going to
are
ask me,
wrong?
and no, all economists don't.
I didn't say all. Did you say that? I'm asking if
you
you think
literally
the ones
said,
who
do you
say
think
that are
all-
wrong. Yes, all of the ones who say that. Do you think they're wrong?
Who say what?
Supply chain.
Yes, I
Say
think
that
they're
supply
wrong.
chain. Okay, why?
They're obviously wrong.
Because a
Why is that
supply
it's not
chain
obvious to me?
disruption is different. I mean, they're different things. That's why they have different names.
The temporary argument was a good one. Supply chain, if that's what inflation is, and I would think that inflation cannot back up, not truly.
So when gas prices go down, are we in a deflationary period?
Very good.
In gas prices,
Our
yeah.
watermelons
But that could be supply chain.
Do watermelons inflate the economy in the winter and then deflate it in the summer?
It depends.
No.
How inflated
No,
are the
they don't.
watermelons?
Things are seasonal. Things
No,
are
but a
cyclical.
supply chain issue could cause inflation in watermelon prices.
No, it could increase watermelon prices,
Watermelon?
but that's not inflation.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I think it. I think you're.
Inflation
you're,
is
I think
defined
you're
as the
reducing
overall
inflation.
general upward price movement of goods and services in an economy.
Yeah, but
usually
that's
general.
Okay, overall upward
Overall.
moving. What is and our supply chain disruptions overall upward moving? No, they're situational. Then they're volatile. Sometimes they go down. Sometimes they go up.
and
The
it would only
reason
affect
that prices continue to increase consistently over time is because we continue to print money.
Okay, sure. So all I'm saying, and we're using the word inflation clearly in a couple of different ways here, but all I'm saying is that a lot of the price increases that we saw over the last few years, the things that people point to and generally colloquially identify as inflationary,
Okay.
a lot of these things did come from supply chain issues.
Okay.
No,
well,
they
people
keep-
should stop being retarded and using the wrong term. So I don't disagree that
Well,
supply
I
chain
think
issues
you're the one
have
who's
increased prices.
who's trying to limit the term artificially.
That's too much.
He's
It's not an
limiting it.
artificial limit. It's
Inflation's-
definitional.
Inflation's a very specific thing.
Hmm.
I'm starting to believe it
When
is.
it's being discussed politically, yeah.
And economically, it doesn't have different definitions. Well, it does have different definitions because people have an incentive and an interest in muddying the waters. obviously, since there's
Okay,
one
so anyone with
source,
a different definition
since
of
there's
inflation
one
than you
source
is
of the
on an
problem,
agenda, right?
since there's one source of the problem, government mismanagement, there's also one big source of them wanting to confuse people.
I
That
think
doesn't
you're right.
sound politicized at all to me, or partisan
Flo,
at all.
I should also mention that I looked up 3 different things, and only one had it all the way at the bottom, and it didn't have it print more money. It said you put more money in the system, or it sugarcoated. Only one said it out right, and it was like the 8th cause. So that makes me immediately the way my mind thinks. Yes, they're trying to hide. That should have been obvious. Print money. They don't want nobody to know the government's doing wrong.
And like literally, the word inflation refers to inflating the money supply.
Yes, it seemed like a
it's
supply
inflating-
chain would be
Which
specific.
is a function of
where
centralized
inflation
banks,
Yes,
would happen
it is a
all around.
function of centralized banks.
not presidents, and hardly even Congress can't really even spend that much.
Right.
They
They're
do
both
have a
bad.
lot.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
both parties.
They all suck for sure.
Yeah.
Fractional reserve banking can suck a dick.
The dictionary
They're
definition,
And that is a global
are saying-
phenomenon, by the way.
You're
Russia
saying
has entered
you
the
can
chat.
find definitions. We don't need to keep
I'm just
looking
saying the
around.
ones that pop up. I'm not saying I can find them. I'm saying these are the first ones that pop up.
Right,
Just
I
a
get it.
general
I
increase
get
in
it. You
prices.
found other definitions. I'm
No,
explaining
no,
to
I'm
you what it
interested.
Your
is.
I
definition
want to
coming
see
from?
where they
You
put
don't
this,
have to
print
believe me.
money.
My
I
definition.
want to understand. If
Mine
you're
is
right,
coming
then I
from-
want to see. I want to
Mine
understand
is
why
coming
you're right.
from an understanding
Guys,
of economics.
Yeah, don't talk over each
I-
other, please.
I wonder if
In-
print money is even on Ryan's list.
Flo, what were you trying to say? Go ahead.
What I was saying is that individual market volatilities, obviously, if we understand that what inflation is, right, that it's prices increasing over time. There is specifically one cause there historically has been, even though they're trying to change definitions now. But even if I grant that it's just prices increasing over time, well, what causes that? And a war is not an upward trajectory. When the war ends, those prices will drop back down, theoretically, historically as
Burn
well.
all the orange trees, then the supply of orange juice goes way down, right?
Correct.
But again, I wouldn't
Price
call
of
that
orange juice
inflation.
goes way up, right?
Correct.
So it's inflated, right?
For how long?
Until we grow new orange trees.
All right.
Okay, so let's say 10
Unless
years.
that land has been seized by someone who's not letting us grow
let's-
orange trees.
Let me be extra generous and let's say that for 10 years, orange juice prices are elevated and then new trees grow. Then what happens to the prices? They normalize at equilibrium.
It would start to after 20 years, sure.
So that would seem like the distinction between the inflation Flo is
Right.
talking about in the general definition.
How would you account
His definition
for
of
every
inflation and
single
the definition
item
that other
going
people
up?
use, yes.
Flo, can I ask you a
Yeah.
question?
Mine
Wait,
and the
wait.
ones other people use.
How would you account for?
Show me a source that uses
because-
yours, Dusty. I want to see yours.
I'm
This
rolling
is
off my,
obvious.
off my brain. I understand this.
I
shit.
can't find anything that says
Can I
that.
ask you a question, Flo?
Yeah.
How
Would you agree under that premise? Because I'm going to assume your premise that it's the actual spending that causes the inflation, right? So the centralized banks increase the money supply, and once it enters into the economy in the form of spending, that's what causes inflation, right?
I mean, money gets. I don't. Spending as opposed to what?
So, like,
You're saying if it's not spent, it's not circulated?
if that were just to make the point as to what the cause is, let's say the circulation was withheld, or the money supply was. We're talking about the increase of money supply in which Americans, in this case, don't pay down debt or increase their savings. They have to actually spend it on goods and services.
Correct.
Yeah, so circulating supplies would actually.
But even if you pay down,
Hello, welcome to the panel. How are you?
Very good, Jess. How are you doing?
Oh God.
paying
I'm
down
good.
debt will actually also have the same
I find
effect
it
eventually. It'll
interesting.
just be slower because then you'll have more money left over that you don't need to do debt service with.
My ginger detector is going off. Did EOD?
Welcome,
Oh,
Robert.
hey, what's up, bro?
Very funny, very funny.
And
Should've
even
already
in
been
America, preemptively, just more available credit could cause inflation, right? In anticipation of more available dollars, right? Once the policy is known that there's going to be easing,
Yes.
that can cause immediate
More
inflation.
available credit. Again, it'll be so if you have interest rates drop and then you or you expand credit availability, that's still going to be temporary because you'll be able to spend up your availability, but then you'll have debt service that you have to do afterwards, and it'll retract back in. But with money printing, you're literally inflating the money policy or money pool, and you're making you're devaluing each unit. Credit doesn't do that for permanently, and the permanent word is my word, but it describes the mechanism of it. When you print new money in the economy, you don't. There's never a period where you destroy those units of currency out of the economy.
It is also a general thing. It's not affecting just one thing. It affects general. Mm-hmm. So if you try to go ahead and just pretend that oranges are seasonal, what we see is that it normalizes. It normalizes in an upward trajectory, which never comes down.
So the main point that I was making, right, is that people saw prices going up. Okay, a lot of different prices were going up. A lot of prices were impacted by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Regardless of whether you want to call it inflation, prices were going up because of that invasion. And that's what I'm pointing to, saying people saw that.
We were specifically talking about monetary inflation.
Is inflation the only thing? Does every price increase? Are they all inflation?
I'm not attached to the word.
He's saying inflation was not relevant to his point, and we went off on a tangent. That's what he's saying.
Does this make deflation inherently temporary?
I have deflationary period. Deflationary period.
I think
because inevitably inflation will resume. But then, what causes deflation? Can you retract the money supply?
Yeah, you can burn money.
The deflation would be caused by not printing money and having an upward trajectory in the growth of the economy.
Do you know any nation that's ever gone through deflation? Doesn't every nation just go through
I just gifted 5 memberships to my audience. That's a deflationary act.
Complete bullshit. I love everything you say, Dusty, till that. That was bullshit.
It was worth it to make the point.
You did that shit for free, motherfucker.
It was funny.
I know. They got memberships for free. Last I checked, memberships cost $5. Price of memberships deflated for them.
Yeah.
And if we don't
it may be a 0.0001% impact, but it was there.
So we should appoint this guy. He gonna take care of it real good.
Yep. I'm fixing the economy one gifted membership at a time.
What would you do about inflation if you had a mod god over the economy?
Me?
Stop printing extra money that we don't have.
I love it.
I'm glad I don't have to make that call because we're kind of in a situation. We're kind of locked into a situation where you have to continue to exacerbate the problem in order. It's like you could accelerate it or you could decelerate it, but I think that I don't know. You're kind of fucked either way.
Well,
what about Ron Paul?
Hypothetically, if I were emperor of the world, then the question, and we wanted to transition to sound money, the question would be, how fast do I want to rip off the Band-Aid?
Right. Rip off the what Band-Aid?
The bad currency Band-Aid. So we'll have to. The dollar's a temporary thing. It's not going to last forever, and at some point, it's like, how long do you want to? Do you want to limp along on a donut forever, or do you want to just suck it up and change the tire?
Right.
You going back to the gold standard, are you?
That's what's so good about Trump.
No,
he went on the tariffs. He went on
probably.
One of the best things that ever happened for our prosperity is in the U.S. in modern times is getting off the gold standard and attaching it to OPEC.
Because a deflationary currency is fucking terrible.
But by getting off the gold standard and attaching it to OPEC, we guaranteed foreign demand for the dollar, and that's why we can export a lot of our inflation. If we were still on the gold standard instead of OPEC, like, shit would be worse for sure.
What would you do? Or would we have stopped earlier as a result? I don't think we would have. Pain.
For the same reason Anson Knowles doesn't like democracy. That's the same reason why I don't think we would have stopped printing.
It's happened before. People don't just stop printing. It also affects, like, people like Ryan would absolutely spurred the moment they
Hang on a
have to.
second,
Rob
guys.
Norwood.
Shout out to Rob Noor for the
Yeah,
raid.
rated.
What's up, robbers?
Thanks so much for that. I really appreciate that.
Can you give an example of
Welcome,
when it's
everyone.
happened? What I'm familiar with is they print until the entire society collapses and then start over.
He was
I
going to
don't
give it to
think
me,
that's happened like
Jess,
four
but I
times.
decided since you
What a
donated so
legend!
much.
No, what a
Don't
legend for
your
doing that
anarchist
for
fucking
raiding
bullshit.
a small
I have
channel
much
like
love to
that.
the
That's
Normans.
really cool of him. I appreciate that a lot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
He's
thank
a
you,
good dude.
Rob.
He really is. You all should get to know him a little better. But what am I saying here? You donated so much money the other night. I was like, you know what? I would feel bad if I tried to take it away from Jess. So here you go.
I
Merry
really
Christmas.
appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, shout out to him. That's awesome. I really, really appreciate that. That's cool.
Hell yeah.
I did used to listen to Rob until I met EOD and realized he was a mod over there.
That was on
I was like,
when I went over there too.
This
I
guy's
don't trust
judgment,
Redheads.
character judgment just ain't that good.
If you wanted any example, there's like Venezuela is an example. Argentina happened like 3 times, so there's examples of them.
Well, if I was really a dickhead, rude, I
Stop
would've
being
just muted
printing
you.
because they're in a bad way.
I don't do that.
Well, a deflationary period would happen if, say, like you jacked up interest rates, and then nobody was buying like new longer.
Whoever tried to enter the studio too, there's a room now. You can jump up if you'd like to join the panel. And you got anything to add? Sorry for interrupting, guys.
No, you're good.
Mind if I chill for
dog,
a sec
Ryan.
for just 1 second?
God, can you help yourself? We know you got a dog, you got a channel, it's in your name.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I got a channel too, it's in my name.
I'm 5 away from 700 subs, and it's a cool number. You know, it's a nice even number. And so if there's 5 people who have liked Radical Coder, you know, over the past,
I'm gonna unsub. I'm unsubbing right now.
If we got
No,
free
yes.
babies in the chat, free
Shout out to
Masons.
Rob and all the legends that came
brought
over
up
from
to you.
over there. I really
You're
appreciate
like
it.
so close to being cool, Ryan.
I'm working on it.
Well, thank you for having me on. Thank you, Flo, for answering my questions. I gotta go. I have finals and I need to do some work. So have
Good
a
luck
one.
with those, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's always rough.
Good
We
talk.
got lower class in the back. Is anyone?
Oh
on the
yeah, he's
panel
cool.
know?
Yeah, I know him. I know him.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
dose and Coca-Cola. That's what got me by. No dose and Coca-Cola.
What's up, lower class?
What's
we were
up? How you
asking-
guys doing?
Doing okay.
Welcome
Doing
to the
good,
panel.
doing good.
We don't speak to the lower
bro.
class. Stop it.
Hey, that's fine, dude. I get it.
Listen, all classes are good.
I couldn't avoid that one, right? I couldn't avoid it.
So I
Lower
was gonna
class,
ask,
you been listening? Oh, go ahead. All right.
yeah. Well, I know I'm bringing it back to the bad orange man, but like he has been pressuring the Fed to lower interest
please
rates. So I'm
don't,
just
for
curious,
love of
what do you
God.
guys think? What do you guys think
So I
that
was
will do
telling
to
you,
prices
you
in
make
general?
good arguments.
I want to know,
For
Dusty.
your
What do you think?
TDS, like,
What do you think
I'm
the pressure from the Fed to lower
pro-inflation,
interest
by the
rates
way.
will do to prices broadly? Do you think that will have any impact at all?
Lower interest rates spurs spending because you have less debt service obligations. So yes, it will increase spending.
But do you think prices will go up because of this?
I don't know that. I don't on certain items. Yes, I would think that real estate will go up. I don't think vehicles will, because the tariff threats at least have already, freaked those prices out enough. It's normally with bigger ticket items that you see that the price is really affected.
Negative interest rates, baby.
Do you think that
Ryan,
markets?
you're so cool, bro. You're always like close to being cool, but every time you gotta blame shit on Trump, it's like I'm like, oh, come on, can he make an actual argument?
I'm sorry, maybe
other
Trump's a
than
bad guy. Maybe you should
I'm down with
wake the
it,
fuck up.
Ryan. If
Maybe
we
you should wake the
ever,
fuck up. Your
I would like
president's a
you
criminal.
to give me an argument other
Get
than
over
Orange
it.
Man bad.
I would love to discuss.
Are you
Lord
new here,
Mayor
Ryan?
Bad at some point, right?
Because you look like you might be kind of numb, but I'm just wondering why you didn't wake up during Obama, Bush,
He's
the other
okay. He
Bush.
says good stuff.
Well,
It's just he ruins
Cheney,
it.
Rumsfeld.
Which one of them was pressuring the Fed? Like which ones were doing that?
Very specific flat earther argument.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
if you want to
so
go back
these are
far
very-
enough, I could. Have you heard about a guy called, Lincoln?
What?
Honest Abe?
Low rates also
Abe Dinkus.
increase employment.
He suspended habeas corpus. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Oh yeah, that's true. You did.
Low rates
Then there was-
incentivize hiring. because corporate debt is a big debt item, and so if they've got less money they need to pay interest with, they got more money to hire.
Then there was that dude John Adams who made it illegal to criticize the government. You hear about that guy? I think they called him a founding father or some shit.
Yeah, that's not good.
As a matter of fact, didn't he pass and sign the very act that Trump is currently using to deport people?
The Alien Enemies Act that Trump keeps getting blocked from using now.
Trump
the Wartime Act, that when we're not at a war, because people were just saying Trump didn't start any new wars, and now you're saying he signed a wartime act.
There's literally written by your homeboy John Adams.
Yeah,
why do you
but
think
we
John
agree that
Adams
that's
might
not
be
a proper war, don't we?
It
I
doesn't
do
have
agree
to be
that.
during.
Yeah, so I
during
mean,
a war.
yeah.
That's like,
Again,
what war did Joe Biden start?
I guess you're right. He didn't start any. He just lost some.
What about Obama?
Okay.
Oh Jesus, he started like 3 or 4.
Yeah, Obama.
Syria,
Did he do
Libya.
Afghanistan?
I mean, we can keep
We went to
going
war.
with that one, dude.
We went to war with Syria.
He was
initiated
Afghanistan?
U.S.
carpet
declared war on
bombing
Syria.
countries.
Nah,
in
see,
the-
no one should take this dude seriously.
Technicalities, yeah.
This isn't even sophistry. It's beneath sophistry.
So wait. So Trump bombing countries doesn't count as war, but when Obama does it, it does.
No one's saying that, bro, but you're coming from
It
a
sounds
position of saying, like, Trump is bad because of these things, and then you say, well, what wars did he start? And we give you an example, and you go,
No,
but
lower class.
Trump,
You weren't here.
but Trump.
No, you're lost, dude.
Trump.
You weren't here earlier, and that's why you're confused. It's okay though.
No, you're not confused, lower
Wilma
class.
Dictate a shout out
No, you're
says the
right.
powdered guy is on
Right.
roids.
This is
I'm
right.
not, but thank you for
Right,
making that
argue.
mistake.
Lower class, that's what he's been doing the whole time he's been up here. Don't let him gaslight you.
No, this guy. They don't listen when I talk like 90% of the time, so they're confused. But it's okay.
Lower
My hearing
class,
is
your camera's not
inflationary.
going crazy, bro. What's up with that?
What have you done to deflate
I've
to
fixed
reduce
DOD,
inflation,
but-
Ryan? Have you gifted any memberships? Have you?
I'm broke, bro. I will once I'm making bank. I would happily pay it forward to the people. who support
Can't
me
you give
on the
10 a
ground floor,
month?
You can give 10 a
Right.
month of your own channel's memberships.
Can I really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't even have memberships. I'm not even.
Yeah,
there yet.
if
I'll
you've got
get those
membership,
other
you just
channels.
go onto your own stream and click the $sign button, like you're trying to buy a membership at your own place, and choose gifting memberships, and you
I
got
can
10 a
give to
month.
other channels. So I'll get.
You can't determine where they go.
No, I mean, like I can't like send those.
I'm
to,
sorry for putting you on
like,
blast. Now
gift
you
cards.
can't deny knowing about it.
But I don't understand.
No, you can gift
Can
it to
I
your
send
channel.
gifts? Can I give
To
people
your channel.
memberships to your channel? Is what I'm asking.
No.
You can. It costs
That's what's
money.
Okay, yeah.
But I think that's a really good idea.
I will.
I am restreaming right now, so if you or anybody else wants to gift memberships to my channel or Jess's channel, you should do that.
Hey, yo,
Yeah, I
what the
support
fuck's
it.
wrong with you? Why
just
are
can't
you
afford it.
over here like grifting on Jess's channel? Come on, what's wrong with you?
This isn't the one.
Content. I'm here. Everyone's fucking fighting with me. I'm giving
This
her
isn't
content.
this isn't the hill you're gonna want to see on.
I'm sorry, sir. Are you familiar with the internet?
I see you trying to white
I'm
knight.
familiar with the internet.
Have you been
But
to
I
YouTube
understand-
before, sir?
Denizen, you can see his
Oh,
muck
but
changing
white
colors.
knight,
He
I have
knows
respect
stuff.
for people.
No,
True
you're
that,
white
true
knighting
that.
because she knows that I'm restreaming, right? She knows that, and I included her in the grift. The people I was talking to about gifting my memberships are the ones that are already watching me on my channel. That I'm restreaming from her thing, and she knows about it because she has the option up there. The people that I was talking to and said gift memberships to her channel,
Okay.
they're the ones watching already on her side. This is why it's a white knight and
I
you're
didn't
stupid as
know why
fuck.
I didn't like you, Dusty. You say some cool stuff, but there's reasons I was like, why don't I like him? I couldn't remember.
Is this
You
the
just
guy that I
reminded me
stomped
why.
that one time? Mud?
I'm still
You
waiting
never
for him
talked
to
to
say
me
cool
before.
stuff.
I'm talking
Yeah,
to you
yeah.
now.
No, I
You
want to
wanna
hear the.
stomp me? You want to?
You know the reason why I don't like
me?
you, Dusty? I want to hear that.
So why don't you like me?
I thought you were cool, but go ahead.
Why don't you like
You
me?
always say stuff to make me not like you. I want to like you. But you
Okay.
always ruin it.
I don't give a fuck if you like me.
Based.
So
I'm
you
just
do
telling
whatever you want. You can like me, you can dislike me. I don't care at all.
Lower
hard
class.
to not like you. Like I like you. You say good stuff, but then you always got to ruin.
I
it
don't
with stupid
care.
Stuff.
I still don't care.
Well,
How
I'm
come
You're
telling
still a
you.
white knight. Your
When you say
objection
all
was still
stupid stuff,
stupid and
Cecil.
misguided, and I still don't care if you like me.
I'm not talking about girls. I'm talking about you. You annoy me. This has nothing
I
to do
don't
with women. This has
care.
to do with you.
How many times do I have to tell you I don't care?
You're annoying all of us right now.
We'll never be able to get over
go
the
ahead.
guilt of
Go ahead,
not
fellas, go
winning
ahead.
your friendship tonight.
Should I
Consider
quit
that
How
a
screaming?
choice.
did we go about from the government censoring hate speech to all this talk about politics and all these different avenues
I
that
know.
you've gone down to now
No,
a
I'm a
personal
white knight because
fucking
Dusty
problem
And you know what?
fucking
Now
annoying.
I'm
It'd be
shutting down my
I just
channel.
say
I'm
you're
deleting my whole
annoying,
channel. He
Dusty.
doesn't like me.
Rip Dusty. Pray for
Oh,
I was
Dusty,
thinking the
y'all.
same thing, Jess.
Come
Always a
on,
drama.
apologize, guy. Let me see what your name is.
Cecil, you apologize right now.
Apologize, man.
why don't you just go
I
back to the
see
actual
Dusty.
topic of hate speech and censoring and the government censoring hate speech?
Cecil hates
that
me,
was
and that's why I'm ending my channel.
Oh, Flo, fuck off. You're not
No,
ending
dude, I
anything.
want
Don't
to like you,
bullshit.
but like, the first
Log
time I
off
didn't
the
like you, I
internet,
saw
delete
you
your
argue-
account.
I saw you arguing with Andrew, but like every argument, like you say base stuff, you say good stuff, but then you always end up
But-
ruining it by like saying stupid stuff.
So,
Womp
So you
womp.
like his arguments, you just don't like his personality.
He don't like it when they conflict with his. Is
No,
what
it
that
doesn't have
is.
to do with his personality.
Exactly.
It's like he says, it's like truth.
How are
hidden in
you going to
between,
try
like,
to call
lies.
me out for being rude to the host channel while you're sitting here ignoring her request to get back on topic? You dumb fuck.
Right. What was the topic? Hate speech and,
It has
and freedom
nothing
of
to do with
speech.
being.
Y'all were
Yes,
talking
COD,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
economy and
Should the
shit.
government
hate
censor
speech
hate
content.
speech? Yeah.
This is hate speech.
Can we?
Cecil-
What?
Cecil hates Dusty.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
What
is why I
is?
hate Dusty. Yo,
What
the
is
way
hate
you.
speech?
Oh my god.
Keep your hate speech off our campus.
Does the
And Jess is
dictionary
trying to
even know what
Jess is
hate
trying to
speech
censor your hate
Let's get
speech.
back on topic.
Crazy.
Hey Siri, what is hate speech?
Don't censor
There's no
Cecil.
such thing.
That's
all
my
speech is
opinion
hate
too. There's no such thing.
No,
yeah.
you should censor Cecil because I'll say some shit. You ain't gonna like it though.
So when it comes to this topic, like, here's my only question, right? What constitutes hate speech content?
I'm googling
Anything
it
I
now.
don't like is hate speech. That's the problem with it. That's why I don't
That's
accept
that's where I'm leading to, though.
Well, it has
That's
to be
what I'm
directed at a
leading to,
protected class.
Who
Yeah.
who designates
chooses
what is
what
hate
people?
speach?
The government.
Who
The government.
chooses?
But as we see, especially when it comes to like American
Better.
politics, different people get into power. So
Correct.
that
America's
definition of
run
hate
politically.
speech is incredibly fucking malleable, and anybody can designate what they believe is hate speech.
Who's ever in office or in power, yeah.
Holy
That's what I'm
hell!
They have to pass
like,
laws
So,
to
so along
classify
the same
groups as
lines,
protected.
you know, like with the Joe Biden administration, theirs was anything against like the the LBGT whatever community.
Here's a list.
And-
Let me give you a list
It's a
of them:
protected
race,
class.
religion, ethnicity, nationality, color, descent, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability.
Yeah, I know what they
Unless
claim.
you're a white male.
But also,
Okay.
that doesn't have hate
So
speech laws.
You gotta make sure you add that in there because that does not apply for you.
that being the case, though,
That would
Sorry, there is no more room in the inn. Sorry,
Let's-
white sir.
Let's test
Mr. Whitey.
Damn,
Actually, does
cracker.
fall under race and gender. By
You're
the way.
right. I
Crack
didn't
ass, crack ass.
I didn't get counseled. You're right. I got black privilege.
My question
You
is,
actually-
though, when
Just
whatever
for the record,
other
guys,
party
you
gets
can't-
into power, let's say the people who have been mostly affected by these laws, who think that it's bullshit, vote in somebody who is vehemently against all these things. What if they designate hate speech as whatever the fuck else they think it should be?
Welcome to
And
the
then you
United
have
hate
States.
speech laws in America right now, right?
You have a teeter-totter of people going back and forth on these different things, people going to jail.
I
their
think
lives
that's what
being
we have
ruined
now.
by these things.
We don't
So-
have hate speech laws in the United States.
Right. That's why we don't. It's the point I'm making. So what I'm saying is when you initiate these things, you're not going to have your fucking safe space liberals who are in control all the time, especially in America. You're going to have
Right.
people who are right-wing, and if they are authoritarian right-wing, they're going to designate hate speech as anything against whatever the fuck benefits their agenda.
Yeah,
If you
I
have
agree.
left-wing people, they're going to designate hate speech as anything against their agenda. So that is the premium reason why any of these laws should not be instituted. The government
I-
should
I
have
would-
nothing to do with this because in America we have a malleable government. So these
I'd like
things
to-
change.
I'd like to make the case that it would be one way. That you'd have one side
we
that
have
would
free
capitulate, and you'd have another side that would use political activism, and it would push the window of what is considered free speech in one direction to the extreme
What happened to your
until
mic?
there was a huge cultural backlash.
Yes, it would teeter back and forth like my man was saying.
Right.
Yeah,
the
that's my
problem with
point. So what I'm saying is like, you would have is this endless teeter-totter of people's lives being ruined for just shit that they say. Like,
Also, I don't understand why these specific being a douche is worse for if it's for these reasons. Like if I want to discriminate against Raiders fans,
right?
Like how's that better than if I discriminate against somebody for one of these other?
It seems arbitrary, doesn't it, man?
It is arbitrary.
To some degree, it is, but I think there's like precedent for certain kinds of speech inciting violence against certain groups. So this is why, like Germany, for example, has all the. Specific
You've never
laws
been to
they do
Oakland. You don't know how Raider fans are.
Fair
They'll
enough.
fucking burn your car down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Eagles fans.
Well, that too.
Fair enough, but I mean, again, like more seriously, like historically, certain groups that are protected by or like protected classes, they actually have like real institutionalized violence, especially against them, and those are the things that are.
You're saying there are reasons,
right?
Okay? Yeah, pretty much. I like it.
It should be a civil matter, not a government matter.
However, Ryan, this brings me to Dennison's earlier point that if we begin desensitizing ourselves from this shit, Joe, if they call you the N-word, hit them in the mouth. If we start accepting free speech and shit, maybe in a generation or two, my kids won't be so fucking sensitive instead of making laws in the other direction.
It wasn't a prescription, by the way. I just want to reiterate that it was a description. If someone can punch you in the mouth for shit that you say, that is a restriction on speech. It's not a violation of the First Amendment. Free speech is in the First Amendment, but the First Amendment is not free speech.
Well, but to be clear, if someone does punch you for saying something, they're still committing a crime, and you can still press charges against them. No, like that hasn't changed. Like even if it's something, even if you said like the N-word or whatever to them.
Yes, but if someone doxes you on the internet and you end up losing your job,
like
no one's responsible. Whatever you want to say, no one's responsible for that. Not the person who doxed you, not the corporation who fired you.
You can sue them in the
not if it's true.
Ryan, I have a question for you.
Not if you're in trouble for something you said.
Is hate speech violence?
I think some of it is inciting violence.
That's not my question. Is hate speech violence?
I don't think so. Not explicitly. But you could be used. You could say things like in some countries you can like things that are identified as hate speech include things like inciting violence against a group.
Okay, that's great. That's other countries. We're talking about this is under the guise, at least in my in the way.
I'm not even arguing for hate speech laws in America.
I was part of the Rob Noor raid, so I came in real late. I do apologize.
I know.
But I do want to say, like, it seems like we're talking about this from the perspective of American politics because none of this government censorship is within America right now. So my question is, if hate speech is not violence, then what is the justification for it being censored?
I'm not arguing for government censorship, though.
I mean, hate crimes.
I agree. Then we're good.
I'm not sure there's no hate speech here, man, because we just named it a different thing and we get away with it. Fighting words.
Right. Hate speech is allowed here.
We hate speech into that category.
Brandenburg versus Ohio, right? That was where the Ku Klux Klan wanted to march out in the street, and somebody took them to the Supreme Court about it. Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Ku Klux Klan. You cannot stop people from speaking just because you don't like what they're saying. So,
correct.
There's
as
no
it
such thing
should
hate speech
be
in America. Now, what you were talking about, Joe, with like protected classes and shit, that has to do with hate crime specifically, right? That's why crime is committed, and it can be attributed to the motivation is because that person's part of this protected class.
No, I'm not talking about hate crimes. I'm talking about hate speech under the guise of a different name to trick motherfuckers like you and believe it's something different. It's the same thing. Somebody calling me the hard R. They call it fighting words. It was just a way to get around the hate speech shit. It's still hate speech. Under that
fighting words
definition.
aren't against
You
the
don't
law,
need to
Joe.
get around hate speech. Hate speech is allowed, is legal in America.
Right.
Well,
But unless they call it fighting words, and now you can catch a case because you called me the hard ER. Oh, those are fighting words, and now you can catch a case for that.
For
Fighting
calling
words.
somebody the hard ER? No, you can't.
Sure, you can. Look up
At the
fighting
local
words.
level, technically, it hasn't been.
I've never. Has that ever happened?
Look up fighting
Yes.
words. Yes, all of us go to jail over fighting words. All
You'd have to be able to afford and have the resources to appeal to a higher court.
Yeah.
We do have hate crime laws in America, but the difference is
That's what I was
if
trying to point
if
out.
me and Joe were to scrap and I were to drop it, and me and him were still scrapping, I'm going to go to jail for a hate crime. But that's because that was used in the commission of me and him trading hands.
Wait, I don't know if they're gonna call it hate crime. You're
I
talking about
can't.
something.
Yeah, and the hate
Okay, I
crime
see what you're
concept is
saying.
absurd to me. Like, if
Same. I
somebody
agree.
murders me, I don't give a fuck why they did it. Just don't do it. It's
Yeah.
not better if they murder me because they don't like my shoes than if they don't. Than if they murder me because I'm white.
100% agree.
Right.
Well, what it turns
I'm pretty
into is
sure
just a
that we
way
can measure
for
that
people
you're
to be-
extra dead.
People can be prosecuted with extra consequences. That's really all it is. People are punished with
Yes.
greater consequences under the law. And
Right.
think
In
that-
order
that's
to-
I have
as
an
it
issue
could
with that.
possibly be.
In order to shame discrimination.
There's
in order to
there's an issue
deter
there.
discrimination. Yeah.
Because
Hey,
if somebody
Ryan,
murders me, I want them to have the maximum consequences. I don't care why they did it.
Yeah, life.
Ryan,
Life in prison or the death penalty.
our left is gonna make all drugs legal, man, and end that war on drugs. Our left is gonna
I
do
think
that.
they're more likely to than right is.
Is that a yes or no? I'm curious.
I don't know what specific
I know you
It
don't know the
depends. I mean-
future, but we know the direction. You can guess that if
Yeah.
Trump gets into office, these things are going to happen. If the left takes
Yeah.
power, do you think they're going to pull back on the war on drugs? You certainly. I was being
think so.
facetious. I was giving you a layup with the will they legalize drugs? The answer is no. But
I think we're going to get closer to quote unquote legalized drugs with under a Democratic regime than a Republican one.
yes,
I wouldn't
but
be sure about that.
We'll be getting as close as we got the last time a Democrat got in office, and the last time it'll be closer than the guy before him, but it'll never quite happen. But we made
Well,
progress.
one of the problems
Joe.
is, I mean, because Democrats have, for better or for worse, they tend to try to pass laws through the actual legal channels, unlike what our current president is doing,
Good
right?
point. Good point.
So it takes more than just an executive order to actually make shit happen in the United States. Usually, now everyone's saying that Trump can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, Obama, to his credit, he went like 6 years and the Senate went past one bill and shit. In fact, they openly publicly said we will never pass anything or agree with anything you put forth. And then he lost his mind those last 2 years. He ran everything through executive order. Trump goof ass was sitting in the background talking about this is the thing. Oh, I didn't even have to read the Constitution. I knew it was no
for
fail.
fuck's sake. No, man. Obama set a record in his first 100 days for the amount of executive orders that he wrote.
And Trump beat it in his first 10 days.
And Biden beat that when Biden came in. So
no,
great.
Trump beat it this term in his first 10 days. He passed more than he did
Sounds
in the entire
like
first
everybody
year.
sucks to me. Is that what we agree on?
That's what we're fucking coming to. But all of this
That's what
started
you guys
after
both
Bush
sides
W and
defend
Obama.
Trump's corruption.
Obama
'cause
came in
you understate
and set
what
the
Trump does and
precedent.
overstate what the previous presidents were doing.
Obama came in and set the precedent. Everybody else is
That's
just
what you're
following
You
doing.
know what?
And the
I would really
opposite.
rather
Not what I'm
hear
doing.
Cecil talk about how much he hates me.
It
right
really
now.
is.
How?
You compared
How am I
you
doing that?
career over
you
there.
compared the deportation of citizens to places where they may likely be tortured or will live in torturous conditions as the actual sanctioning of torture by U.S. citizens of other U.S. citizens.
Yeah, you guilty of the same shit, yeah.
Okay, wait. So when did we change the laws to block that torture?
We didn't.
No
But
laws
you
were
wouldn't
passed regarding torture.
No, here's
In the last,
something
like,
about
30
your
years.
comparency. You're comparing. I could say they put me in the Cook County jail. That was torture. I have an argument, but my argument is insincere if I know Dennison is talking about legit torturing, poking them up,
Actually,
and all that.
The jail I was at, they used a lot of the sensory deprivation and isolation tactics.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until after I was out that they actually do use. What was it called? Soft torture? Or
Yeah.
Well, see, I know
Sleep
that CPOT is known
deprivation,
for human rights.
sensory overload.
Yeah.
We're deporting people there with no due process.
Like
that's
with the no
concern.
windows and never leaving the cell and the 24/7 fluorescent lighting.
Yep.
That was yeah. I'm the only person
well,
here
there's
who's been
been two-
tortured,
there've been at least
and
two children
I
with
still
brain
think listening to
cancer.
Ryan complain about Trump is worse than that.
There's been at least two.
I was just
US,
going to say,
US
you're not the
citizens.
only one. I'm here listening to this too.
There's been at least two children,
Hey, y'all,
two
how's
American
my
citizen
mic game
children
right
with
now?
brain cancer who have been deported under this current Trump regime, by the way.
Oh
Fuck those
no!
kids.
Yeah,
Pull the
that's
heartstrings.
horrible, Ryan.
Pull
It's still not the
heartstrings.
same as torturing children and crushing
Yeah,
their
sorry, I was
you know
responding to
what
the
in front of
message.
their
I was
parents
responding to the message
in order to
that
get
said
them
no
to,
U.S.
to
citizen. I'm sorry, Denizen. To be clear, I was responding to the message that was up on the
Yeah,
screen
you
that
can't
said
let
no
everybody
U.S.
else
citizens
talk.
were deported, and I was correcting the record because U.S. citizens have been deported, including children with cancer.
Well, I
Fair
mean,
enough,
that's
fair
why
enough.
we deported them, because we don't want their cancer.
We don't
What
want
you're
to
talking
catch
about,
that
Ryan,
shit.
is a mother who got deported, and she wanted to bring her children with her. So,
Did the children leave the country? Yes or no?
okay, I see where
The
you're.
US
Cecil,
citizens
what's your
did,
least
right?
favorite thing about me? Hurry.
Yes, they did. But would you rather them be separated from their family?
Yeah.
I would rather
What
that
would
those
be
parents were given a pathway to citizenship.
Okay, great. They can come back
So
and try
they had
again
a
later.
pathway, but they subverted that by entering the country illegally.
Right. Take a line, take a number.
How do we know that
measure
without
it.
any due process?
How do we know? Because they were here illegally. If they weren't here
How
illegally,
do you know that? What's the process to figure that out?
I gotta back Ryan on this one.
we can't deport people who are here illegally.
I gotta back Ryan on this one. Due process is the process of figuring things out. Like, are you here
Yeah.
illegally?
And Kilmar Abrego Garcia,
So
who was deported to
here's the thing.
CCOT. Hang on, real quick.
Kilmar Abrego
EOD.
Garcia got
I'm
us
almost-
hearing.
let me say my.
They've
let me
been
say
to
my-
immigration.
let me say my thing.
They've been to immigration
Hey,
court.
hold
They're
on,
found
let-
to be
let-
in the
Wait,
country
wait,
illegally.
you
They don't
just
have the
cut
legal
him off.
protection.
He
Is
brought
They
it
get
up.
deported.
Boss.
That's what's going on.
Red,
let
he
him
brought
make
it
his
up.
point.
Red, you should have let him finish. He brought it up. He
So-
was going to say
Yeah.
something.
So
Let
Kilmar-
Ryan
I was
make
going to
his
say
point.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia didn't get due
Not
process. He
you, bro.
did.
I thought Ryan brought it up. You
Weasley,
just cut him
chill,
off.
okay?
Let
Kilmar
Joe
Abrego
talk.
Garcia
Shit,
Joe
was
will
living
talk.
here legally. He was
He's
living here
retired.
legally, okay? He had a work permit. He was working. He was in a union. He was living here legally, and he was illegally deported. The government admits that it was illegal deportation. An
Okay,
illegal
why was it
deportation.
illegal,
Hold
Brian?
on,
Why was
wait,
it illegal?
Yes.
Because-
EOD, you got the
That's a
point.
good question.
Okay,
I got
no,
it.
no, hold on, Ryan. Chill.
Because he had a withholding order. Yeah.
He had a deportation order, but he
Deportation.
had a
Deportation.
order of withholding, which kept him from being deported to
To El Salvador. The
Salvador.
place they deported him to.
They could have deported him to any other country.
Not without another
There-
hearing.
Yes,
You don't
they
understand the
could
process.
have.
There was a
Not without
standing
another
order
hearing.
for him to
No.
be deported
There's a
for
reason
any
that he
reason
got a work
at any
permit.
time.
There's a
An
reason
order
that
of
he was
withholding keeps him from being deported
Oh, I
from
swear
one
this is so
country
fascinating.
and
without
that is
another
South-
hearing and the other country accepting him.
Okay.
Another country would
Ryan.
have to accept him, and he would
Ryan.
need another hearing.
Ryan.
Right. So
Kilmar Abrego Garcia had a standing order to be deported for any reason under any
Not true.
suspicion
Not
of
true. That's
crime
a lie.
at all.
That is true.
That is absolutely
No, it's not.
100% true.
It was ordered
That's
by a
why
He was
court.
released into the country in 2019
He lost his
legally
hearing.
as a legal resident.
He was arrested with a bunch of MS-13 gang members. He was
He had
found
been
to be
attending.
associated
You're
with
moving the goalposts.
MS-13.
He had been attending.
I'm telling you what the results of
No, he's not moving the goalposts. He's
I'm telling
describing the process in which he was deported legally.
Right. I'm telling
No.
you what his due process
Why did the government
was.
say he was deported
His
illegally?
due
then? Why did
process
the Supreme
found him
Court
to
say
be
9-0 that
associated.
he was deported illegally
Ryan,
then?
his due process found him to be associated with MS-13, and that for any
Not
crime
true.
he
That's
should
a lie.
be deported. At
It
any
is
time.
true.
Also a
I
lie.
read the court case
No, it's
myself.
not.
Yes.
What is
You might
it?
You're
have
just
read
denying
a
reality at this
where
point.
somebody
No,
who
what
was-
about
who was
Ryan's
ultimately
argument?
dismissed-
What about the Supreme Court? What them disagreeing with you guys? What about
Yeah.
that?
Why did they disagree with you guys?
Why did they
Because they're
disagree with
obviously
us on
politically
what?
motivated.
No, what is it that they
Trump's
disagree with us
stacked
on?
Supreme Court is politically motivated against Trump?
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
No, because he was deported to El Salvador against
Illegally.
the order
Technicality. It was a
of
bullshit
withholding.
technicality.
Okay,
Oh, that was
that's
before
fine.
that.
But
Did
but
you know
you're-
that El
you're-
Salvador is
you're
Spanish
using-
for the
hold on.
Salvador?
Hold on.
The more you know.
You're using this he was deported illegally thing.
Yes.
There's really no recompense that they can have other than telling Trump you need to
To bring him
at
back and give him a
least
hearing.
try. No, that's not what they said. Let's be very clear.
That is.
No, it's not. You need to at least try to bring him back.
And he hasn't done that. And
And
he said he could. He said he could bring him back in an interview. He said, I could bring him back, but I won't.
That's not
Bukele
true.
said no. We're not going to
Bukele,
release
so
him
what
in the
Bukele
United
said
States.
in the Oval Office, what Bukele said was, "Oh, what do you want me to do? Smuggle a terrorist back in the United States?" But he wouldn't have to smuggle. He would not have to smuggle him in because the Supreme Court ordered the facilitation. So we would actually be taking him in with no smuggling involved. So why did Bukele say
We
that?
would
Is it
have to
because he's a
steal
fucking
him
liar?
from El Salvador, Ryan.
No, we
He's
wouldn't.
in El Salvadorian custody at this point. And El Salvador doesn't want to give him
Do you
up.
think
That's the
Bukele
problem.
would not release him in the United States if Trump asked him?
I think they did ask him, and he refused.
Trump never.
He's also
asked
no
him to do
longer
that.
under the jurisdiction of the United States.
Trump don't want that nigga back. I can't see him asking him.
100% he doesn't
He
want him
hasn't
back.
asked.
That's over half the country. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter whether Trump was on his knees begging with both hands, or whether Trump
he's not
hey,
trying.
Can we get him back? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
He's not doing that.
Here's another
All
interesting
he
fact
was
for you.
asked to do by the Supreme
Is
Court
facilitate.
was to facilitate. And what does facilitate mean?
It means you have to try, make an active effort to get him back.
No, it
which he
does
hasn't
not.
done.
It means you have to give
Wait,
an
wait,
avenue
you've been
for
sincere,
this to
guy.
happen. He had an avenue for this to happen.
No, you've been a jerk.
Bukele can easily say no.
Wait, okay, here's all right. They wanted the Supreme Court. This is a verbiage that they wrote, but they were saying make an effort to get him back. You're like, but the verbiage says it don't really have to technically be an effort. They were saying make an effort to get him back. Trump saying I will do no such thing. He just said no.
Do we know? What kind of conversations has Trump had with Bukele?
Well, the court
So
said
Trump
that
has-
he hasn't. They gave him one page, and all it said was the status he has been deported. They
Right.
So I
gave
just
him
want to
no-
follow up on
I want to
that.
speak to why this is so relevant, right? So I'm going to quote the Supreme Court notice about this, right? Like what the Supreme Court actually said, why this is a big deal. Okay, what they said was, quote unquote, sorry, let me find the exact line. Moreover, it has been. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong part.
Relax, take your time.
Yeah, my bad, guys. Okay, here it is. The only argument the government offers in support of its request that the United States courts cannot grant relief once a deportee crosses the border is plainly wrong. The government's argument, moreover, implies that it could deport and incarcerate any person, including U.S. citizens, without legal consequence, so long as it does so before a court can intervene. This is why people are concerned about Kilmar, because it implies the justification they use to deport Kilmar implies that they could deport and incarcerate any person, including U.S. citizens. That means everyone here who's actually, I assume most of you are Americans. It includes any of us, right? To be clear.
I would say that that's a
many
valid
US
concern.
citizens Sorry, go ahead, Dusty.
I would say that's a valid concern.
Okay, I hear that, right? How many U.S. citizens have been imprisoned and deported to other countries?
I don't know about deported.
And I'm not
Get
sure if this is
imprisoned all
about
the
to be a
time.
good argument or not.
I'm not.
And-
yeah, of course, we have
yeah.
a really high imprisonment rate. Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe I used the wrong word. It's fine.
Well,
But
when all this
when
was
it comes
going
to
on,
how many
Trump
U.S.
said-
citizens have been deported to another country?
So when all this was happening, when Bukele was in the Oval Office, Trump was saying he wanted to deport homegrowns next, and he was telling Bukele to build more prisons for homegrowns, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that this is a new problem doesn't mean it's not a problem.
I'm for it, by the way.
Hey,
We should deport a lot more motherfuckers.
Honestly, Ryan, I do agree with you on this. The way he said that shit was bad. I'm not even going to go against that. Okay, I'll be straight up. No, that was bad. That was bad.
Do you
We
think
don't
that
want to
combined?
get great rhetoric.
I appreciate that. Really, do you think that combined with this, like the Supreme Court saying that this justification could deport anyone, so not just people who are already determined to be actual like homegrown terrorists or whatever, it could deport anyone, any U.S. citizen with no due process? Does that concern you?
Do you think Trump's a liar? And no,
Yes.
it doesn't. But
And yes, he is.
Then why is this the case where he's telling 100% the truth when he starts going off the cuff?
Oh, stop. You got really crappy arguments, bro.
I mean, you can say that.
Do you think
But
he's
at the
lying
same
about
time-
wanting to deport homegrown terrorists?
Like so here's like you can say I have crappy arguments, Joe. That's fine.
Yes, he's told a lie before, so why could he possibly be telling the truth this time? Well, that's just silly reason.
No, what I'm saying is Trump says a lot of crazy shit. That's what he's known for. He says a lot of things that don't actually pan out.
So we should be able to determine when he's telling the truth or not because he says a lot of crazy shit.
I think
Well,
it's more
what I'm
important to look
saying
at what he
is,
does rather than what he says.
it's pretty obvious that y'all have the fucking 100% accuracy pin on when he's telling a lie or when he's telling the truth.
I don't know who y'all is. I think you arguing with imaginary leftists or something that you argue.
It's pretty easy. Whenever Trump's saying it's something you don't like, it's the truth, and whenever it's something you don't really care about, he's just kidding.
Yeah, well, I'm not that off base here, bro. Like, I get it, right? We don't agree on the subject, and I'm not trying to throw shade like you are right now. But what I'm saying is, it's very easy when a guy who constantly says crazy shit, like we should suspend the Constitution for a day, people freak the fuck out. But when he says no one has had a higher IQ test than me, no one ever, they say it was the best ever. You guys obviously know that he's not telling the truth.
Again, I don't know who you guys are, so I can't answer for more people than myself.
Okay, fine.
If you're just talking about me,
he meant to say you people.
What do you mean by you people? What are you talking about?
I didn't, but I'm coming from
I'll be right back.
where you're coming from in the argument. I'm arguing against that, right?
Well,
so
you haven't heard my part of the argument yet, right? My part of the argument is Trump is trying to go
when
there.
I'm wrong in that.
Wait, you haven't had my argument. All I said was your argument's shitty. My argument would be that Trump is playing a long game. He does want to deport motherfuckers like me, gang bangers and all of that shit. All of this would be leading in that direction. That's my belief, if you want to know my belief.
Prove it then.
I can't fucking prove it. It's a belief. I told you that shit. It was in the fucking
you're calling my
statement.
argument shitty, and you're taking a hard stance on something you can't prove?
I
Give me
called
a
it
break,
belief.
dude.
How
Come
is that
on.
a hard stance? I said I believe. Oh, I said a hard stance.
What kind of people do you think that Trump is talking about when he says he's going to deport homegrown terrorists? Do you think he's more talking about people who look like Joe or not?
I think
He's talking about people who look like us, Ryan.
Who look Give me a fucking break.
I think the gangbangers, all he got to do is say it's a terror invasion and these are homegrown terrorists, and now under the act that he deported dude, he can deport us.
I fully support it. Bye, fellas.
Listen, we're
There you
talking
go.
about a law and order candidate.
Who?
Somebody who campaigned on that.
Someone who
That nigga ain't never read the law.
Look,
Are we talking about Trump?
He doesn't give a shit about the law.
He doesn't know it. I guarantee you he ain't read it.
That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
All right.
We're talking about somebody who ran, and when I'm saying this, I'm talking about campaign, political science. They ran on this issue. So what is their
He ran on lying about law and order, yeah.
Dude, shut the fuck up. Let me finish my point. Someone who ran on law and order, someone who ran on this concept of criminals being prosecuted, whether they're foreign or not, of course, their most effective.
Ashton. Sorry, hang on a second. Just, can you give us a reply?
Can you hear me?
I'm still here.
Yeah. All right. Just don't want to see nothing inappropriate on screen.
Oh
that's
yeah,
all.
I know
Just make sure.
Ashton. He's from the Rob crew. What's up, Ashton? How you doing?
Hey
Nice
guys.
to have you on the panel. Thanks for joining.
You can go topless, man. We won't argue that. You can go topless, Ashton.
Just
please.
please.
I have two little in the room right now.
Ashton, how you doing? Good to see you, bro.
Keeping it down a little bit.
Glad to see you over here, my man.
Oh, dude, so happy to be here.
So
Thanks for joining.
Can
Thank you so much.
please just let me finish my point, right?
Trump ran on law and order. Go ahead.
Of course, right? Like I'm not saying Trump is washed clean. I'm not saying this political. I'm not revering him as a political icon. Okay, I'm a very moderate guy. We probably agree on a lot more than we disagree on.
Undoubtedly.
Being honest. So
Sure.
this candidate who ran on law and order and ran on criminals being prosecuted, ran on stopping people from selling fentanyl in the streets, who ran on these things, the most effective strategy for him to achieve that goal would be to instill fear into people who are committing serious crimes.
Holy hell.
When he's talking about these things, he's talking about people who are spending fucking life in prison. They got an X before their docket number, people who have killed folks, who have like knowingly sold fentanyl to overdose folks, so all the other junkies in the area would call them because they know it's strong shit. I'm a recovery drug addict.
Okay.
That's not speculation.
Then you know full damn well that the distinction between a drug dealer and a drug user it's not really a thing in the way that the rest of the population thinks it is.
Correct. No, I'm with you. I'm talking from.
You know that Trump wanted to execute drug dealers. He's proposed that several times.
I mean, I'm for it.
Yeah, I mean, like what? I don't know
I mean,
what you want me to do about that. Has he done it?
Again, I'll repeat. Just because it's a new problem doesn't mean it's not a problem. The war on drugs has been a massive failure.
Has he done it? Yes, you're right. I agree with you 100%.
So what he's doing is he's trying to amp up the war on drugs.
In what way? Aside from deporting fentanyl dealers from
like literally what I just said. How's that? He's done all sorts of things. He's giving more funding and legal protections to police. He's wanting to crack down on fentanyl and he's proposed executing drug dealers. No, he hasn't done it, but it's his rhetoric. He's trying to amp up a war on people that has utterly failed over the past 40 years it's been in place. Substance abuse has increased by all measures.
Now act like you don't understand what he just said.
You don't think we should deport fentanyl dealers who are in the country illegally?
No, I think fentanyl should be legal. I think everything should be legal.
Ooh, man. Yeah, we don't agree on that, bro. But I mean,
what? This is a stupid take.
I don't think we should deport them. I think we should try them in the United States.
Legal? Yeah,
I think we should give them trials in the United States.
I can answer that.
Our laws. If they're breaking our laws, we should try them in the United States. Here.
What are you, a liberal?
Legally here, then they say.
I can't figure out. Are you?
Believe it or not, yeah.
Are you?
I know it's really frustrating. I have my own independent opinions. I'm not in your tribe. I'm not in the other tribe.
I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it.
The reason that we should make drugs legal is because trying to make them illegal has not reduced substance abuse. It has only increased it. The reason it's increased it is an economic one. When you make something illegal that people are addicted to, you make the so much more valuable. The profit margin now. Cocaine is cheap as fuck to produce. It's more valuable by weight than gold.
So you create drug dealers.
You create massive incentives on the supply side. Now, because there's so much profit margin, if you can just get somebody hooked, you've got all sorts of people promoting, and you've got literally rated the greatest TV show of all time as one about people cooking meth.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? Though you would agree, Powder Dusty, and you've agreed with me before that we haven't really had a war on drugs. We've had a quasi war on drugs where like agencies like the CIA and stuff like that just smuggle drugs in anyways to make profit,
and
correct?
Well, do you remember the rest of what that is correct? We cannot have a perfect war on drugs because the more you prohibit something and the more profit margin is baked into that, then you guarantee people will act in their own best interest and try to dump the system.
I would combat against that.
Hey guys, just hang on a second. I've gotta let you know. I've got some people backstage. I'm gonna be backstage so one of them can come up. But if you guys, you anyone in chat or anything, if you want to bring up new panel members, you know what to do. The mods should be able to put the details of that in the chat for you guys.
I'm actually gonna hop off, so I'll give a space to anyone who wants to come up as well. But I appreciate you having me on, Jess. It's been fun. I'm glad that most people here seem to agree that it's bad that Trump defied the Supreme Court and could potentially deport American citizens. Some people think that is a good thing, but those of us who are concerned about U.S. citizens being deported with no due process, I think we should all be joining hands at our hands off protests around the country everywhere. So appreciate
Hey Ryan, have a good night, dude. Hey, good night to your dog for me. He's a cutie, bro.
Ryan, appreciate it.
Bye, Coder.
Fizz in my cup, swimming good love. It was you at the club, missed your touch. Go again, baby, what's up? Nothing feels right, so let's mess up everything.